I know you guys missed me. I'm back this week. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to the Home Theater Hub, number 68. Since the guys messed that up last week, I had to get that in. I did watch the show a little bit. Yes, Rich, we are late, and it's because Ike's keyboard just took a crap on him. So he's trying to get his keyboard back up and running. But yeah, he'll be here in a little bit. So but yeah, I'm returning from my Disney trip. It was very good. Paul, Ike, thank you so much for allowing me to have that time with the family. Definitely appreciate it. I did try to join at the last minute, but literally as I sat on the couch in my hotel, they signed off. So I did get into our little after show, which Rich, I believe Rich, Paul, and Brian. So thank you so much, Brian, for joining last week. Really appreciate it. He's fantastic theater. So
Yeah.
What's going on, Paul? How are you, sir?
See, I thought you didn't join because of the stark difference between 2 months versus 2 years of build time.
Absolutely not. But when you're a carpenter by trade and you have people that can come in and help you,
yeah,
absolutely not. You know,
very true. Yeah, I'm doing pretty good. I did an upgrade this week. I finally bit the bullet and upgraded my core router to the Dream Machine Pro. So
Ooh.
I have that, and yeah, it's amazing. It's pretty cool. It was a little bit of a pain because it was supposed to, since I already had Unify, it's supposed to put everything automatically over. And I mean, I was cussing like a sailor. And
why did I make this purchase?
I was so mad. Like, some of the simplest things are in the weirdest spots. But once I found them, once you found it worked perfect. And then I found out that the Dream Machine has built-in Protect as well. And I already had a Unify cloud gateway that has Protect and stuff, which is their security system thing. But I didn't have hard drives yet for the UDM. I'm going to have to buy those, and then I'll migrate all my cameras back over to the UDM and take this device off the...
That'll be SSD, right? SSD hard drives?
Well, there's a built-in SSD one, but you really shouldn't use that. You should just use regular, like spinning hard drives for mass, video, because you're constantly churning and burning, and everything hard drives included has obviously a read-write, cycle. You can only, just think of it like one of those little toys that you pop, that you push little bubbles the other way, right? That's all a hard drive is doing. It's just pushing bubbles the other direction. You can do that a lot, right? But eventually that thing breaks down. So, but yeah, they even make special drives for security.
I'm glad that you're getting familiar with that. So when I do upgrade my network,
oh man, dude, it is cool.
I know who to call.
You can do the router. You can do dual networks.
Oh wow! So dual ISPs.
Yes, and you can make them either failover or dual, connection, all in one. Yeah.
So you can aggregate it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay.
And I have a a USW 16 port max switch as well. So that's part of my thing. I has set up 2 link aggregation groups for my 2 NASs. So they're basically 5 gig links.
Nice.
But the QNAP still, I think only uses 1 link at a time regardless. But it can, like if, 20 people got on, it would split the traffic up. I don't think it ever does a full.
What does something like that set you back? I didn't know you had to answer to the other half.
No, I don't have to, but it makes it funnier. I think I think that one was $599 plus tax.
$599 or $5,099?
No, $599. Yeah, no.
Oh shit! I'm buying one tomorrow.
That's not bad. Yeah, that's actually really good.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Let me verify, because it's not bad. No, and then what it can do, OMG, it's amazing, dude. Like I literally went in there and just easily said firewall block any IPs outside of the US. I'm just like, I just add them in there and just like,
oh wow.
So 0, you're gonna have the VPN over here to even attempt to log into my stuff now.
Wow, that's crazy.
Because before people were hitting, like Plex has been hacked before, the QNAPs have been hacked before, like all of your devices get hacked, right? But you block certain areas. I went from 20, 30 attempts a day from just random locations to now 0.
Oh wow, that's awesome.
Is this the Dream Machine Pro?
Yes, I have the Dream Machine Pro. What's the price of that one?
$379.
Oh, the Pro Max is the one.
Pro Max. Okay.
Yeah, that's the one you want because it's got the 5 gig WAN port on it. So
okay. That's still actually really good.
Yeah,
is that one $5? Is it $599 or was it $699 on that one?
Let's see here.
Since you're already on that one, because they're
$599.
Okay, it was okay. I just wanted to make sure because I didn't quite remember, but yeah. And this what's cool about it is you can sit there and friggin' monitor all your stuff. I mean, I can do it on my phone. I can set up rules to block stuff. Oh, and the other cool thing is it has a built-in VPN client. So
wow.
You can literally just, set up a user, download the config file, email it, give them the login and password, and they can just download. And there's like 3 different clients. Wi-Fi Man is like a built-in one that does like a bunch of stuff automatically. There's OpenVPN and there's 2 other ones that I don't remember, but so you can VPN directly into your network and watch whatever you want to watch, like your local on your LAN, So
which VPN do I use? Let me see. I think it starts with an N.
Nord.
Yeah, that's the one I use.
VPN.
Is that one in there?
No, this is private VPN.
Oh, okay.
This is like you're only VPNing to yourself, so it's your own server.
I see.
You're not hiding. If you were in, another country, yes, then you would appear as if you were at home still.
I see.
Yeah, it's the opposite on this scenario. You're connecting to you. So like if you wanted to watch something that sometimes there's devices, I'm not going to say what devices that will only play locally. Yeah. You can use this and play locally.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mr. Ike, welcome, sir.
No, man.
Did you
computer before going live?
We are live.
There's a body.
Is he breaking up for you guys too?
He's very. I can't even hear a word he's saying. Yeah, he's major chop suey.
So Ike's having some technical difficulties. Looks like he's frozen now too. So.
Yeah, he is.
But let's introduce our guest today, Mr. Sammy. Mr. Sammy Prescott. Those of you should have seen him around the forums and around around Facebook and all over the place. Projector Central. Sammy, go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself.
So my name is Sammy Prescott. I am a reviewer and professional calibrator with Projector Central. I've been reviewing with them for about a little over 3 years now, I believe. And then in regards to calibration, I have been calibrating for over 15 years.
Oh, wow.
So I've been doing it a pretty long time, long enough that I've seen a good amount of stuff and seen things improve, seeing kind of where things are going. And
nice.
It's fortunate enough to put me in a position to work in a lot of cool rooms, work with a lot of cool companies. So I do that. Those are actually not my real profession, though. My profession is I'm a QA software engineer and a Scrum Master. And I've been doing that for over 18 years.
Wow.
So what is a Scrum Master? What is that?
A Scrum Master really is who enforces and tries to follow the agile development methodology. So you have different types of development. Like you can do, like the old school method would be waterfall. So like say something were being built, it's going to be built from start to finish. And then once that is fully complete, then you have what effectively would be a release, where if you have agile, you work in smaller sprints, what we call them sprints, to develop something that's going to add value. So you would say, okay, I'm going to have this feature that's going to be developed, and I'm going to deliver it in chunks that adds value with each delivery. So there's a certain like methodology when you are developing that way, and a Scrum Master basically kind of enforces that with the development team as well as product management, QA, and that's what a Scrum Master actually does.
I see. So Big Jack says he's a Scrum Master certified, but I'm a product owner now.
Yep. Product owners are like my arch nemesis. They're always trying to like push something in, and it's like, nope, you want something in, you got to take something out. And it's like, well, can't we just, maybe fit it in here? It's like, no. So that's basically my job.
I see. Yeah. So what got you into the projectors and into home theater? It looks like you have a nice home theater there. Is that are you actually in your room now currently, or is that a backdrop?
No, it's my room.
Okay,
yeah, it's actually my room. What got me into home theater? So I always liked televisions. Like that's kind of, I guess, where it started. Always watching movies, watching anime, playing video games. And my uncle, he used to work for Sony in Rancho Bernardo at the plant. So we always had like, Sony TVs and whatnot. And when I got a little bit older, I'm not sure how it happened, but I ended up with like a Secrets of Home Theater, like calibration disc, and as well as like an Avia, or like there's like another one, the DVE, like Digital Video Essentials. So I ended up with those, and I was just really into how something worked. So I would start, playing around with TVs and different like receivers. Like there's very like unique things that kind of caught my attention. Like I used to be huge on Pioneer. Loved Pioneer like when I was super young. And the only thing I wanted was like a Pioneer receiver. So I ended up eventually getting a Pioneer receiver. And just over time, it just kind of continuously built up into, well, I want to get this next. Well, I want to get this next. So like, I think I was in my 20s and I had one of those huge like remotes that were like this big with the touch screen and like the hard buttons. Didn't need it, but I thought it was cool. And it was more like the tech part of it that drew me in. And then as I kind of progressed and got older, I started to I started to learn more about different types of technology. So at first, like I didn't really think of like a TV as being like emissive or transmissive, like so like an LCD or an OLED or a plasma or something like that. That wasn't something I ever thought about. I just would go and look and say, oh, this looks great. I want one of these. And I'd eventually try to save up and, buy one. And it just kind of kept going and it just never really stopped, honestly.
Yeah, that's I think that's how a lot of us get into it is just doing that deep diving down the rabbit hole of certain things like you're talking about there, getting to know the actual how devices work and everything else like that. So I Yeah, I think that's how a lot of us start the journey into a lot of rabbit holes, right? You know?
Yeah, that's
sure.
really what happened. Once, because I mean, my dad, he had like a huge separate system, and I would look at it and play around with it, play around with the EQ, had no idea what it did, but I'm just sitting there, just like flipping switches. And then as I started getting older, it's like I want to know how this works, and that's kind of what drove everything, like knowing how something works and getting to experience different types of technology. And like I said, it really just never stopped. It just got worse. It just got way worse.
You're like, oh, there's way more gadgets now. Oh no.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They always say curiosity kills the cat, right?
Yeah.
So Paul, what about you? What you been up to? I know you said that you did a slight upgrade to your network. Any chance to watch any movies this week?
I watched The Gorge.
The Gorge. I heard about that.
Yeah, and everybody says it's like amazing. It is okay. I mean, it wasn't anything. To me, it was like, another one of these.
see, I heard it was exactly what you're saying. I heard it was it was.
Yeah, okay.
It was not that it was bad, but not that.
Yeah, it wasn't
right.
bad. It was just like, oh man, really? Like, Jesus criminy.
Yeah, I heard that also.
And I mean, it had a lot of potential, I guess,
Yep,
and
I heard that also.
That's a lot of movies, it's a lot of movies nowadays. It's like, oh, here's this storyline that's could be amazing, but it's just like, because like at the beginning, the intro and how it brought you in, it was like, oh, okay, this is interesting. And then they just unfolded everything like, oh, this is this. And then it was about something. Totally.
Yeah, it sounds like they had the budget, but then they didn't have the budget, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that's how that works or not, but yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Sammy? Do you you seem like you're a tinkerer, so I'd imagine you like the gear, but do you actually enjoy the movies also?
Oh yeah, no. I wish I watched more movies. But lately, let's see, what is the last thing I watched? I watched American Primeval on Netflix. It's like the Western. It was like I think a 6 series, like Western, taking place in Utah, and it was very interesting. It was very interesting because it kind of touched on like the not fully the Mormon War, but part of it. So we watched that. And I have a ton of movies that are just kind of queued up that I need to watch that I haven't gotten around to. But I like to watch the movies. As much as I can, when I find time, I try to watch something. I usually go on kind of like a binge. So like me and my wife will watch some stuff down here, and then we'll watch something down here for like 3 or 4 days straight. And then after that, we like don't come down here for weeks. So, and then we'll just watch the TV upstairs.
Yeah. So I didn't watch anything, but I've found a new I guess not a new, but a more advanced passion for Star Wars. Hence the reason why I got the Ahsoka on. Right.
Okay.
So I went to Universal Studios this past not Universal Studios, excuse me, Hollywood, at Disney, and man, I tell you what, the Rise of the Resistance ride has renowned my Star Wars liking. I don't know if you've ever been on this ride before, but it was absolutely phenomenal. It's a fantastic ride. It kind of sits in the you sit in a cart. I don't know if you've ever been to Disney, but the Mickey Runaway ride, you sit in a cart just like that, and it takes you around to multi levels. It has drops. It has everything, and they really did this thing up. I mean, there was like 3 sections before you even got on the ride that kind of set you up for the actual ride, right? So you go like three different sections, and there was one section that you walk into. It was kind of like you were in a hangar of a alien ship area, and there were stormtroopers. There must have been 50 live action stormtroopers, like real people dressed up as stormtroopers. And I mean, they just sold this thing to the ninth degree. And I've really enjoyed that ride. It's definitely one of my favorite rides right now at Hollywood Studios at Magic Kingdom. So that's definitely going to be a series that I'm going to get into. Seeing how, I hate to say this, but I watched the first 3, and then I watched the second 3 that came out, either the prequels, but I never watched anything after that. So once the theater is up and running fully, there will definitely be a Star Wars marathon.
Yeah.
Yes,
I rewatched them all as well.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. How long ago did you do that?
Not too long ago, a couple months ago. Yeah. So,
how about you, Sammy? Are you a Star Wars fan?
I enjoy Star Wars. I do. I tried watching, I think what's called The Acolyte, and I got to about episode 3, and I was good after that.
Yeah, I think that one didn't get very good reviews. I don't think so.
Yeah, but I'm the type that, even though I don't like it really, I will probably try to finish it and then just finish off like the other shows as well. I do want to watch Ashoka. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. I think after the few episodes of The Acolyte I saw, it's like, I'm going to take a break from watching anything on Disney Plus for a while.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to show you a picture of this.
Oh, wow.
Those were actually all people.
nice. Yeah, that's cool.
So it was really, really, really awesome, so that was just part of the ride. Yeah, I've my dad took me to Star Wars, to see Star Wars, and I've always liked it. I've liked it better than Star Trek, to be honest with you. But there are some good Star Treks too. So that's cool. Outside of one of the rides.
Is that Galaxy's Edge or Galaxy's End? What do they call it?
I don't. I'm telling you, I'm not a huge Star Wars fan, but I'm gonna be. So
is that where you can build the lightsabers?
No. So actually, you can build the lightsabers in there at a different area, but yes, you can. I actually built one last year. So this was like walking through the ride. Let me play that again. Come on. So they like take you through a hangar, kind of like, I mean, like I said, there was no detail that was unturned in this ride. I mean, we looked it up to try to find out how much was actually spent, and they're saying well over 300 million, for this ride. It's not really disclosed, but they're saying, and it like I said, it was worth every penny of it. I mean, there was not a piece of detail that I'm not a huge, like I said, I'm gonna be a Star Wars fan, but I'm not a huge Star Wars fan. I've watched probably, like I said, the first 6 movies, but to me, there wasn't anything that was left out. You know what I mean, as far as detail wise. So
out of the first 6, I'm always curious. let's like disregard the last three because those don't really matter too much anyways. But let's say the first six. Out of those six, which are your favorite three?
Three. Ooh. I really like the one where Darth Maul was introduced. And like I said, I'm bad, so don't beat me up, guys.
Right.
I don't remember the titles. I'm becoming a new fan. I really like the one where Darth Maul was introduced. That was, I think that was what Phantom Menace.
Phantom
Menace.
Yeah. Welcome in, Ike.
Thank you.
So, Phantom Menace. I do like the first one. You know,
Okay.
Obviously.
First one being
the very first one.
very, very okay.
Yeah, like
okay.
where they introduce all the characters. You know,
Isn't that like what New Hope was?
No,
That's the Phantom Menace.
That was 77, right? New Hope. Oh,
Well, it depends. Are you saying the first released, or are you saying
the first released?
number one?
Number one.
That's Phantom Menace.
Let me help myself refresh my memory. So
yeah, Phantom Menace is the first one.
Ah, okay.
Phantom Menace.
Are you saying that because it was a prequel or because it was well,
that's the first of the trilogy, right? The trilogy or whatever they call it, right?
Those are the first of the prequels.
Oh,
yeah,
right,
first of the prequels, yes. Which, yeah, the first released was 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
Yeah. So the original self-titled film, later subtitled "A New Hope" in 1977. So that's the one that I'm talking about.
Yeah, that's the very first one. The prequel is that was in 99. That's when the Menace came out.
Correct.
I just didn't know. Yeah, I like the original ones, 4, 5, and 6. There's some, I don't know. I don't like how a lot of this stuff, because I mean, you know, it's Star Wars. They had unlimited budget, basically. Right. They made things way more techy. Some of the animation was horrible. I mean, the animation was better with them doing live cameras and, you know, models than it was in the digital era that they did. You could see some, especially if you watch the 4K, you can see some weird, you know, stuff, and you could tell where it had that digital screen in the background, which is an amazing, you know, technology thing. But it's just like, it just didn't, you know, you could just tell it just wasn't quite right on some of the stuff. As far as the movies overall, yeah, they're you know, obviously it's Star Wars, so they're all cool, but the old school, you know, I like those three way better.
Yeah. I mean, I really liked the original Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and I swear I'm probably the only person that I know that ever says that they like this movie. I really liked Revenge of the Sith. Like, I actually really like that a lot.
Is that the one with Samuel L. Jackson?
Prequel, right? The last one.
Yeah, it's the last prequel.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that one. Everyone's like, why? I was like, I don't know. I just do. I prefer watching Revenge of the Sith over Return of the Jedi.
Return of the Jedi, is that the one with Jabba the Hutt?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where he kills him? Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you there.
Yeah, see, I don't even remember it. I know I've watched it, but I'm trying to, like, you know how you kind of remember scenes?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't even recall anything that happened on that one.
Right, and that's what I was just saying. I'm not a huge. My brother is a huge Star Wars fan.
That's where they went to Cloud City and all that stuff, and it's where he gets his hand cut off. Where it says, "Luke, I'm your father."
Spoilers. I mean, it's only since 1977, but spoilers.
Yeah, I hardly spoiling it for anyone. Yeah, if you haven't watched it by now, that's on you, bro.
I haven't watched the last three, so don't spoil it.
I'm not gonna tell you the last three because that is your time. You really have to. you really have to kind of remember a lot of stuff to understand, especially some of the last episodes, because there's some things that you may not quite understand, and even after you watch it, you may not understand. But it's a big twist.
I know a lot of the shows that they have, like the series, try to sum some of that stuff up too, right? Between the last three.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to just watch the basics, you can watch the Family Guy episodes 4, 5, and 6. Those are pretty funny, but they're good. They summarize it pretty good.
You also need to watch Rogue One.
Yeah,
that was a good one.
That's
and Solo wasn't bad. It wasn't awful, but you should probably watch Solo as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'll definitely. I mean, I want to watch. I didn't watch any of the, like the what the Mandalorian. I haven't watched
the
any
TV
of those
shows.
Yeah, I haven't watched any of the.
I watched that one.
Falcon.
That's it.
I love the Mandalorian, man.
Yeah, I heard that was really, really good and really well done.
I need to get the Blu-ray disc, the 4K discs, man.
Yeah, I heard that was really well done.
Streaming that stuff, then cut it, man.
Yeah. So what's going on, Ike? We didn't get a chance to introduce you because you were having some technical difficulties there. So how was your week this past week?
It was good. Spent it trying to watch The Reacher. I need to finish that up. I watched a couple of episodes.
So what's it, the third season of The Reacher?
Yeah, third season. I watched a couple of episodes, and I think it's reached its shelf life because I watched.
It's reaching.
It is reached. Yeah, it is definitely reaching way beyond reach. They should probably just wrap it up after this one. It has reached the end of it.
I see.
So, but yeah, I watched the first 3 episodes. I got to the 4th one and I dozed off. And then I tried to rewatch it again. It just wasn't clicking. So I don't know.
Uh-oh. Ike is having internet issues today.
But man, he gets paused in the most flattering. If I pause, I'd be like this. He's like, I always, it's like every time he's just like this. I'm a distinguished gentleman over here. I'm just like, it's like what?
Yeah,
like,
they'd have my mouth open and my eyes blinking.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what would happen to me. Oh, it's crazy. Man.
I tell you what else I've been partaking in is the new Dexter series. Have you guys seen that?
It's all the original. You're talking about Original Sin?
Yes.
Yeah, we haven't started that yet.
Oh man, I'm on the 3rd episode and it ended crazy. I mean, it was just a total cliffhanger. So, which is what I love about Dexter itself, all the twists and turns and everything else. So, but yeah, it's so far so good. And I didn't think that they could do as good of a job as they did on the first couple seasons of the original Dexter, but I'm enjoying it actually. It's actually really good. So I definitely suggest that to people. I don't think it's a home theater type of show. I've not watched it in the home theater yet, but as far as for sound and stuff like that, I've just been watching it in my 65-inch with a sound bar. So
I know like some like because I catch into or watch your guys' show when I get a chance sometimes, like when I'm working and I'll put it on in the background. Did you finish your theater?
It's almost there. Matter of fact,
okay.
Well, as they say, it's never done. So the aesthetics aren't done, but the functionality is almost there.
Okay, because you said like you haven't watched it in a home theater. I'm thinking like you have to build it first.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Sammy, for jabbing that one in there. I appreciate
that. See, I like Sam. He gets straight.
Yeah, that makes up for my stupid network issues I'm having right now.
Oh man, yeah, no. So I did install all of the speakers. They're wired. They have banana plugs on them. They have they're ready to go. All the subwoofers are in place. We'll take a quick look in there. But Amazon kind of failed me this week. You know, I was thinking, you know, hey, you can get our XLR cables in a couple days, right? Well, I ran Megami for all my subwoofers, and I didn't want to use different XLRs. So I know people are going to tell me an XLR is an XLR. Paul's already got that in his chamber, but
I didn't say that. I like matchy, man.
So
I'm
anyway,
not against that at all.
So I ran Megami for all the subwoofers, and I was like, you know what? Let me use Megami for the interconnects too. So I had to order them, and when I went online, and they were like a week, and I'm like, man, this is Amazon. What's going on? You know. And then I looked at some of my stuff. So what I did was I ordered the world's best. It's called World's Best Cable.
Yeah, the WBC one.
Yeah, so I used that, and that is actually using Megami wire. So I looked back at what I purchased, and then I
not all of them though. Certain versions.
Right. Some of them use Canary.
Yeah,
some of them
you got to pick the right version.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I wound up purchasing the same ones that I did in a much shorter length, and as I was looking at it, you know, I found a 6-pack, and it was like, okay, it'll be here in 2 days. I'm like, well, great. I got 18 speakers. I got 18 channels. Let me order 3 of these. It said there was 9 left. And when I clicked on 3, it said, oh, sorry, you'll get these next week. I'm like, well, it says it got 9. What's the difference between 1 and 3? You say you got 9 left. So, yeah, so now my interconnects aren't coming in until Monday, which I was hoping to be able to watch a movie when I got back from Disney. So, but yeah, no, it's so I'm waiting on that. I did, like I said, I did put all the speakers into the room. What the heck? There's no better time than now to go in there. So you guys chit chat, and we'll do a quick update since Sammy brought it up.
Oh man, you need to go to your bar, take a shot of whiskey or something just to recover from that.
Right? Big Jack says that you should have used the Amazon locker. You get them there faster sometimes.
Yeah, I gotta drive. Not if you have to drive 10, 20 minutes to go to the locker. Well, but it depends on how many that particular seller had, right? If you're buying from maybe a seller that is not necessarily Amazon shipping it, Amazon itself, if they only have 2, they would have to coordinate to get you all the extra ones. So
yeah.
But come on, Don. We've waited for 3 years, man. One extra week ain't gonna hurt us. One extra week will not hurt us that bad.
At this point, I'm not expecting it to actually be fully done by the end of this year. I will be surprised.
You think? No. It has to be done, right?
Well, he hasn't even started the aesthetics for the sound treatment.
What is Young Wade talking about? Miniature transformer? That just sounds complicated, man.
Yeah, miniature transformer balancing adapter.
You buy a Trinov, which is already a transformer, and then you got to buy a miniature transformer. How many transformers do you need for your speakers, man?
That's probably for the +4.
For the +4, right?
Yeah.
To add the extra. Oh, the 3-pole XLR female. Yeah. That just sounds complicated, man. Oh, it fixed the problem from.
Oh man, you got. It looks like toilet paper down there, man. You need to bring that roll with you.
That is masking tape. That is tape for.
It looks like a big old roll of toilet paper.
So I'll show you this first.
All right.
So this is the closet that housed all my gear, and you can see all the spaghetti wiring here. So this is 18 channels of speaker wire, 4 channels of XLR,
Jesus.
2 HDMI cables being ran. What else? There is a third HDMI cable. There's Ethernet, separate Ethernet. And I think I got a USB in here somewhere too. But yeah, this is the closet that used to be full of gear. So I'm glad to say that
Wow.
it is empty.
Wow. That's a big step.
Yeah.
So here's my rack. It's pulled out so that I can start doing all the, that light is probably shining right in the way, but start doing all the interconnects and everything else. So Zapiti, sorry, that's going to be pulled out. I have a Denon old 6300 in here, 6300H. I'm probably going to pull that out until I buy another rack because I do have a 4th Emotiva. So that 4th Emotiva will go in there. That's actually sitting right there.
Yeah, okay. The XP.
So that'll go in for the, I needed extra amplification for the side channels.
You have a Lindorf?
Yes, Lindorf, yes. Have you done any anything with those?
Yeah, I have one upstairs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I have a MP60 2.1.
Very good. Hold on for a second because I'm having difficulty hearing. I'm going to try to see if I can connect my Bluetooth. Just switch off of me for 1 second.
Okay.
No problem.
You're going to take you off solo mode.
So yeah, Wade is asking the device above the receiver, the Denon, was a Lindorf processor. So that's what that was. So he's actually not going to have used the Denon.
That was my dream processor before Train-Off became a thing. I mean, it's always been a thing, but before it became much more popular, you know. And now that they have the 2.1 board, it still makes it something I really want to try. I just love
Lindorf
that brand.
is cool.
Yeah,
I like my Lindorf. I wish the 2.1 had more inputs, but outside of that, I think in terms of like just aesthetics, I think it's probably one of the better looking processors.
Yep.
And it actually does really well for a room that doesn't have a lot of treatment because of how the room correction works.
Yeah.
But I mean, you can get that room correction in like a MX180, like a Macintosh, right? So it's not specific to Lindorf, but it's good. Like it works. It's way more than I need for a living room, but whatever. Just kind of found his way up there. So
yeah, they make. I mean, Lindorf. They make various.
We lost him again. Oh man, I
You
thought
lost me again.
Oh, there you are. Yeah.
I don't know what's going on, man. Like, I've done all my bandwidth checks and everything looks good, but I don't know. I'm about to switch back to my Windows, man. I'm getting tired.
Yeah, you might have to renew your IP address. You might.
Yeah, I need to do a DNS flush or something.
Yeah, yeah. Because I've had that happen before, where my device still holds the IP, but the provider, did something where they, released all the IPs, and so you basically running like a duplicate IP.
Yeah,
you wouldn't know, except you just have random problems, and then it's like, okay, unplug the modem for 2 minutes, and you plug it back in. Next thing you know, you got a new IP, and you're like, oh,
yeah,
crap.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to see it at the very end, But I've had that problem before. But yeah, if your speed checks and everything.
Yeah, speed checks.
Yeah,
there was even a pending update. I completed that update, and then I don't know. I don't have any browsers open except for StreamYard, so I'm not sure what the hell is going on.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Perfect. All right, so
there's
walking into the theater.
To the right, the bar.
Yes. So I still got some tools to clean up in here, but here's something I think that I was considering actually covering this up, but I really think it looks nice. That speaker on the top's obviously not going to stay there, but I mean the REL subwoofers, the dual subwoofers in that spot, I really think I made a good decision on putting those there rather than the monolith. I mean they look really nice in this position. So yeah, and I have all the grills on because my son will I don't think you can hurt the subwoofers, but you
don't want to chance it, that's for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, so got the Martin Logan there. There's going to be a bracket right here. I already got the brackets. They came in today. So they're going to be up there until I figure something else out to either hide them, or if I don't like the look of them, I may just go ahead and put in walls in for the rears if I want to. But over here, we'll pan over here. Got the Martin Logan sitting inside of there. And I plan for it to sit like this, because there's going to be a 2 or 3 inch panel, fabric cover that's going to cover everything. It's going to cover this window, and you'll see I kind of got some mix and match stuff. So I'm budget friendly, man. I'm just like Terrence said, I don't like paying MSRP for anything, right? So I bought these Martin Logans, which are in the cherry wood color. I bought those for a fantastic deal. I got basically a 2-for-1 deal on those because I think each one of these side surrounds are priced at like $100, maybe even more now. So I actually got a really good deal on those from him, $500 for 2 of them. The amp that was out there, I actually bought from Shane Lee. That was still boxed up. I got that on a super deal. I have the Martin Logans. I had them in my living room. I'll show you my living room why they're white. But I had them in my living room already, so I'm kind of that color. But all this is going to be fabriced out anyway, so you're not going to see them. And you'll see here that's cherry color for my center. It's same exact Martin Logan. So I can turn on the baffle wall speakers here, lights here. Let me turn those on.
Man, he needs a Unify wireless, man. Have perfect Wi-Fi in that room.
That might also be what I need to, man. I need to upgrade my home network.
Yeah, what I like about the Unify stuff is you can just
when I switch off to turn the lights, it stops. So I actually put the in here now. I mean, I got full Wi-Fi signal. There's the deco right there.
Oh, you were going.
But when I go switch off, because I went to the light app to put those lights on. So you'll see that's the cherry wood color too. Got a deal from Michael on those. So I drove to his house. That's when I actually met him. I actually bought 2 of those because I considered I was going to buy another one of these and have them as a wide sitting out in the room. And then I did a full revamp of saying that I wanted the speakers to be hidden. But yeah, I was going to have 1, 2, 3, 4. I was going to have 5 Martin Logan 60 XTIs sitting in the room.
Wow.
And then we got those installed. So those are the same exact Martin Logans that I have in my ceiling. And they're acting as my wides because, I mean, literally that tweeter, I took the exact measurements of where it needed to be, and that tweeter literally fires right across this cushion here, like right at that point. And then same thing with the other side over here. That tweeter fires right across this cushion. So yeah, and then we got the another side surround here, and the second row side surrounds, which I'm sure Sammy's like, well, how is he going to do that? So I'm just gonna Y off the side surround, and I'm gonna have them playing the same signal, unless I introduce like a mini DSP or something into there. And as you know, the if you have the Lindorf, which model do you have? The 40 or the 60?
62.1.
Okay, so if you have it, you know that there's an actual option for a rear center too.
Yeah.
So that's what this box is for. I'm gonna purchase another one of these, unless I go all in, and I will put I'll have a center rear center also.
Okay.
And I tell you what, this Ritchie cable, man, this jacket on this thing is phenomenal. I mean, I pulled this through with absolutely no resistance whatsoever. I pulled all those cables. I had to use cable in a brand new Smurf tube. Some of these cables that would not pull through. It was just some cable pulling was a lot harder than I thought it would be. But yeah, got the back up, got all the speakers installed. So now it's just time to start playing some movies, guys. I can't wait.
Yeah, it'll be.
I can't wait.
It'll be phenomenal. I can't wait to see what you're gonna do with your sound treatment and your lighting, because I know you've been pondering that for a long time.
Yeah. I got designs in mind. Abe was helping. Abe gave me. I gave him the design, and then he actually drew it up, but I don't know how he did it, but it he made it look like a pic, like a 3D rendering of something, and then I gave him another that would include LED lighting, going up the walls on multiple locations and stuff like that, which is exactly what this 5-wire, all that 5-wire is for. I got, there's going to be rope lighting going around the entire soffit there. And then also on each side and each step. And then I have to install my cable railing. So I'm going to install, because I actually stepped off this thing like 3 times and almost broke my back. So because that is 13 inches right there. So if you're not paying attention, you can definitely fall off the back of that. So, but yeah, man, it's definitely coming together. Definitely coming together.
Wade asked if you're gonna fill the cavities around your surround speakers in those cubbies.
Yeah, so I was going to put like some sound dampening material in there. I'm not gonna like build anything to spec, but they will definitely be stuffed with something.
Gotcha.
And then I also I'm crossing these over at 80 hertz, but those of you that are going to look up the Martin Logans, you're going to say, well, they're rear ported. So I'm either going to be crossed over at 80 hertz. I'm going to see how they sound. If they don't sound right, I'm going to plug them. So that way, I don't have to worry about rear port. In the front stage, I think I can get them far enough forward that it's not going to affect it. And you see there's a pretty good gap there. I think I can get them far enough forward that it won't affect the port. But I think
you're gonna hear anything over all those. How many 15s do you have?
Subwoofers. Yep.
Yeah. What?
Yeah, 8. It's 8 15s.
6, 8.
Wow.
Yeah, 8 drivers. Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a few. Yeah.
So.
And what's the near field thing?
So the near field is still covered by the carpet. It's going to be right here. I never cut. Actually, I never cut. This is actually the baffle of the near field. So I cut one circle out, but my carpet guy couldn't wait on me to cut the rest of it out. So I have the amp. I have all the wires are ran. So eventually they'll get done. Just not at the moment.
Yep. That sounds good.
But yeah, so they'll be
projection.
So I have the NZ8 projector.
Okay.
So seems that you review the projectors, and what is there enough difference for me to go from the NZ8 to the N900?
From an 8 to a 900, yeah. I mean, that's a pretty.
There's enough difference.
I would say so.
What about from an 800?
That's a little bit more of a lateral movement. I guess it depends on how bright you want to run it, but it looks like you're going to have a hush box anyways. So you could run it at basically 100 laser, and it's not going to really matter for you. Where it would come into play is if you didn't have something like a hush box, then you can run an 800 or a 900 or hell, even a 500, 700, because the way they change the laser fan curves. So you can run them brighter and they will be quieter than an 8 or a 9 or anything like that.
Oh, so the newer 5 and 700 are quieter than the 900?
Yeah, the 700 and 500 are quieter than the 900 and 800, and an 800 and 900 are quieter than an 8 and a 9. So basically how it works is they have fan curves, and the curves for like a 800 or 900. So once you go from 46 laser, which was traditionally mid laser, once you go to 47, it kicks up one fan curve, and then it goes from like 47 to 60. I think it's 66. It might be 64 or 5, but it's definitely like once you pass 66 for sure, and you hit 67, it goes up to the next fan curve, and then there's another fan curve after that, but it's a smaller step. And then the fan curves for so like effectively you could say I can run a 900 at 66 laser, and it will be effectively brighter than a 9 at mid, which makes sense because you're increasing the laser, but it will be quieter. So it's still quieter. And then the fan curves have changed for the 500 and 700, and they're like it's a bigger step now. So I want to say it's from 47 to 74, and then from 75 to 100 is what the fan curves are.
Yep, you're muted.
Don is definitely going to upgrade that projector.
Oh yeah,
there's no way he's going to.
He said he's going to give me that 8.
So contrast wise, I was reading like the what is it, the 5 and the 7 are really, really good. Especially for the entry level that they are for that projector. I think I was reading it's even more than my NZ8.
It's native contrast with fully open aperture. Yeah, it would be higher than an NZ8.
Yeah.
I mean, so the 5 uses I believe they still use the Gen 2 DILA chips, and the 700 uses the Gen 3. But they also have a different lens, and because it's in a new chassis, they also still have the high contrast optical block. So their contrast, like the jump from like an NZ7 and an NP5 to a 500 and 700 is pretty big. Like they are really good projectors, and price to performance, if you don't need the light, a 500 is probably one of the best projectors you can get.
So now I need to upgrade my NZ7?
No.
To a 700?
No one ever
actually to a 500.
No, I'm not
thing,
go to
right?
500. I'll keep the same number to the 700.
Well, I mean, I think that's part of the interesting thing about home theater. Like everyone kind of gets caught up into like the hype,
Yeah.
and they feel like they need to upgrade. No one ever needs to really upgrade, right?
Yeah.
No one needs anamorphic lenses. No one needs video processors, right? People shouldn't just be going out buying this stuff.
Yep.
If you feel that you are missing something, right? If you feel you need more brightness, if you're getting a bigger screen, things like that will determine if you need to upgrade. But if you're happy with what you have, just enjoy what you have.
And we always say it on the show, right? There has to be a need, a problem you're trying to solve.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
That's really the thing. It is.
So I originally bought, I actually had an older JVC that I bought used, and then I bought the NX7. I bought that actually from Shane Lee used. And at that point, I knew I wanted to go 160, so I did buy the DCR, the Panamorph DCR lens, to help with the light output. And then it wasn't but a month or two after that they came out with the NZ line.
Right.
So you know the NX7 went bye-bye very quickly. and I purchased like literally day one release for the NZ8.
So let me hear this again. So you upgraded your projector twice without having your theater built.
I just knew that was coming. It's gonna be 3 times.
I mean,
the good news is that
it out. I just had to
the first projector that I purchased I got for $500.
Well,
and I tell you what,
the price you upgraded.
that thing is the contrast on that thing is actually better than anything that I got now. It's a JVC also.
Yeah,
it's one of the older ones, one of the first 4K pixel shifters that they had.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, those have super high contrast.
Yeah. So it's like one of the first ones of those. I forgot the model number of it, but yeah, it's if I didn't need more light output, I'd be more than happy with that thing.
Was it like a 540?
I got it in this closet here. Let me see.
Oh, he still has it.
Oh yeah, I got it. It's going somewhere. I've been trying to talk the wife into because I actually have a 135-inch black diamond screen, one of the original black diamonds. I've been trying to talk the wife into let me put that in the bedroom. So I have 135-inch and the other projector.
Oh my god!
Because my throw distance and would only be like 17 feet, or 16 feet. So I think it would fill that black diamond nicely. So, but yeah, let me look real quick. Hold on.
That is gonna be a lot of light in one room, man.
Yeah, like most people. For instance, people will say like, "Oh, I want this projector, I want this screen, or I want this, or I want that," and a lot of people don't really fully think of like what that means to properly set it up.
Yeah.
So like you'll have people that say like, "Oh, I have a 160-inch screen or 170-inch screen," and they're running like a NP5, and it's like, what? Like, like why? Like,
so it's the X70RB is what it is.
Ooh, I don't even think I heard about that one.
You know they have 2 different model numbers for each one all the time. One dealer and one public.
Marketplace, yeah.
Oh, that's an old one. Okay.
That's how long he's been working on his theater.
No, 2012 is when it came out.
Yeah, that's not a pixel
that's a few
shifting
years.
one. I don't think. I think that's just a straight up 1080. No, actually, no, it is a pixel shifting one.
Yeah, it's one of the first pixel shifters that they got.
Yeah.
Man, you've been doing this for a long time, Don. We're talking about building a home theater.
not building a home theater.
Yeah.
Yeah, but to your point, Sammy, I think that's very true, right? You can have the gear, but you gotta have them to play together and play nicely, right? Yes. You can if your gear is not playing nicely together, it doesn't matter what the name is, what the brand is, you just have really good individuals that are not performing as a good team. Yeah, as well as it could. You know, it's
Like one thing that comes up like sometimes when I write a review, because I have a 130-inch scope screen. I have a Seymour, or not Seymour, a Stewart Studio Tech 130 G4.
That's what I got.
And it's 130 inches scope. And I will, depending on the projector, sometimes I'll fill it up, zoom it out to fill up the scope image when I'm watching some content. Or sometimes I'll just display it as 16:9, which equates to roughly 100 inches. And some people will be like, "Oh, get a bigger screen." And it's kind of, it's not that easy. Like, if I went to a bigger screen because of how I made my room, because I have a drop-down screen, because I have a television behind it that I use as a confidence monitor, and it's super accurate, super bright. So effectively, I can watch 1000-nit content that doesn't need to be tone mapped. That's the whole purpose of it. And that's there for a reason. So I have a motorized screen. By going with Stewart, with the Luxus case, I'm limited to width, which means I'm limited to the size of the screen that I can get. So people are like, get a bigger screen. And it's like, dude, it's not that easy. And they're like, what do you mean? And I tell them, it's like, okay, say I went to Seymour, then I have to get a woven screen, which then factors in seating distance, which then if I can see XD from my seating distance, I either have to move my seat or I have to go with like Neo or like something that like UF, which means now the target luminance that I hit, I can't hit, which means I have to get a better, brighter projector, which means it's going to cost more. It's going to be bigger and louder. So it's like, I understand when people say like, do this, but it's like, yeah, it's not that easy. Like if you really think about how you're putting this stuff together, you should really be pairing your stuff with what you have, not just saying like, I want to get the biggest screen size or I want to get the brightest projector. It's like, it doesn't really work like that. And most people kind of miss that point.
Yeah, we just buy stuff, off the hype. I always joke, I'm like, dude, as much as I want a Trinnov, getting a Trinnov means I have to upgrade my speakers because I'm not going to buy a Trinnov to come use on my cheap monolith AWOL speakers. Like, I mean, that doesn't even make any sense to me, right? So it's like,
Trinnof's going to make them monoliths sing, man.
Yeah, but still, it's still like, it's still like
there's nothing wrong with having a $3,000 exhaust on a $1,000 car.
I know, but
it still sounds good.
It still sounds good, but what I'm saying is, for you to maximize, you still need to, I don't see it as a single upgrade in a theater.
Yeah.
In my own theater, I feel like it will require.
You need to be the first one with a
multiple update,
a Barco, projected on a painted wall, not even a screen, and then,
I mean, look, I'm running a
camo speakers,
a Lindorf. It's not. I mean, my speakers aren't. I don't consider my speakers better than what you got in your thing. I'm running Martin Logan's. They're, I like the form factor of the air motion tweeter versus a dome tweeter.
Yeah.
But other than that, I mean, look, we all been to all the shows, right? We all know that once you get the processor sounding the way that it should,
almost everything sounds really good.
Everything almost sounds really good, right? So
yeah,
I wish I could tell people that, man. I really wish I could tell people that. Obviously there's levels to speakers, right? A per listen is a per listen, right? There's levels to it, but in the hands of great people that really know what they're doing, the Ryans of the world, man, they can make a lot of speakers look. They can make coat hangers sound like diamond coated cables, man.
Yep,
that's true. I agree.
Yeah, so I mean, you saying that, I actually spoke to Matt from Brolic Media today. We were talking, and hopefully he's going to be coming back on soon. We were talking about waveforming, what it takes to do waveforming and everything else, because that's the only reason why I would consider a turn off right now is for the waveforming. And he was explaining what, you can't, they highly recommend for you not to have like dual driver speakers, right? To be able to maximize it. And that essentially your front speakers, your front subwoofers are the only ones that are going to be playing. The other ones are just catching or canceling, right?
Yeah.
So, so for me to dive into that, it would take an awful lot. I'd have to get with my ceiling height. He said when you got 10-foot ceilings, you need, I think, 8 subwoofers in the front and 8 subwoofers in the back. I think that's what he was saying, or a minimum of 4 in the front and 4 in the back. So, it would take a lot, to get to that point, So is it worth it to me?
I'm curious, for the waveforming, do they have to be stacked vertically, or can you horizontally stack them also?
We didn't dive that deep into it, but I know he said he's set up some of them, and he gets a lot. He's starting to more and more. He's starting to get a lot of questions about it, but right now it's not, as much of the I guess importance to people, as YouTube would suggest right now. So, but yeah, at least for in his I guess experiences for just, but yeah, no, he's so I talked to him about it because I even considered, possibly because he's a dealer for turnoff, I'm not possibly even purchasing one. I would love to have one in the house to do some testing with it. Sammy, have you encountered waveforming or messed with it or anything like that?
Yeah, I've been in a few rooms with it. I've obviously seen it at the shows. Been in, I think it was at least 2 rooms that had it. I mean, it's cool. Like I would never because I have a turn off also, and I wouldn't do it. Like my room couldn't even really accommodate it if I wanted to. The one thing I noticed about waveforming that's funny is that it's very easy to run a super high SPL and not realize it. Like you can have it so loud and it stays so clean.
Wow.
That's probably the one thing that I noticed about it, to the point where it's like, I don't know if I would even really want that, because like I don't want to have it running so loud for an extended period of time and not realize how loud I actually have it.
And then you go outside and your wife is trying to speak to you and you're like,
huh? Yeah, right? That's probably the biggest thing that I noticed. It was like so clean every time I've heard it. But yeah, I've come across it, but like I said, in my room, I couldn't even accommodate it even if I wanted to.
Oh, okay. This is interesting. Wait, you do have a trainer, right? Wait, said not a single guest in my theater would know if I had waveforming on or off. Wow, can't justify it at all. That's an interesting perspective. But I'm curious, do you have that set up in your theater, Wade?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, look, turn off is good for remapping and everything else like that. So, Sammy, let's talk about, you said you got the 62.1. What made you choose that? Is that because you've heard them before and you enjoyed them over a turn off? Because obviously, you, like you said, you're in some high end theaters doing calibrations and everything else like that. Is what made you choose that processor over a turn off or a Storm or even a Marantz?
Well, I also have a turn off, so I have both.
Okay.
But I got the Lindorf initially because I was doing a calibration in a client's home, and after we were just reviewing content and just sitting there listening to music and just talking, and it just I liked the sound. The speakers he had, I was already familiar with. Had made a very clean sound. He didn't have a lot of treatment in the room, which I was really surprised. I was expecting like a lot of like reflections or like high frequencies, and it didn't have any of that. So this is when I was in California, because I'm originally from California, and I knew I was going to move to Colorado, so I was going to build a theater when I got out here. So I started looking at AV processors, and then I reached out to my client and I asked him, I said, what was the brand that you were running? And he told me Leendorf. So I went around to at least 5 different dealers, listening to different processors. So I went and I listened to Trinov. I didn't listen to Storm. I listened to Casablanca. I listened to Leendorf. I listened to a Datasat. And the one that I always kept circling back to was the Leendorf. And then when I was trying to think of how I wanted to put together the room and I run different cables, the Leendorf had an HD base T built in. So that also was something that made me interested. Even though I wasn't 100% certain I was going to use it, I like to have that option. So then I ended up getting the Leendorf. Loved it, had no problem with it. At first it was an MP60, and then they probably 4 or 5 months after I got it, they came out with the 2.1.
Right.
So I talked to my dealer, and basically he helped me sell it off, and then I just bought a 2.1 and used that for a long time. Well, not a super long time, probably a few months. And I then decided, because one of my speakers is not in an optimal position, it's over too far. It actually needs to be where a walkway is technically.
Right.
And it's this is somewhat of a problem. So then again, coming back to getting things that you need to fix a problem.
Yeah.
It's what can I do to fix this?
Yeah.
And pretty much the only solution was getting a Trinov. So I went and bought a Trinov and then moved my Leendorf upstairs. And that's kind of where I'm sitting at right now. I don't really see myself, there's really nothing else to upgrade to for audio here. So unless I decide to just say, oh, I'm going to buy a Storm to replace my Leendorf, I think I'm pretty much set.
Yeah.
So what amps were you using with the Leendorf when you had it?
Audio controls Savoy G4.
Okay.
Yeah, which I still have, but I hate this hobby. I will probably switch them out, most likely to an Amplitude 16.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Is that what you're really using for the Trinov, or?
Yeah, that's what I would use for the Trinov. Upstairs, I'll still probably use just the. So for upstairs right now with the Leendorf, I have a Avalon G4.
Mm-hmm.
So
what's your experience with Room Perfect? Do you enjoy what it does? Because I'm actually going to take measurements before and after Room Perfect, with and without treatments. Because right now you saw how my room is. I have no treatments whatsoever. Now the walls are filled with R30 insulation, but there's still obviously a lot of reflective surfaces in there, but I can tell you, when I go into that room, it's quiet. It's already deadened. I can tell that it's already deadened.
Right.
I put insulation. I probably put R30 insulation between the 2 floors also. So there's probably 12 inches of it. Maybe R30. Yeah, maybe R22 or something like 28. But there's about 8 to 12 inches of insulation between the 2 floors.
Yeah, that room is dead, man.
And and then but like I said, I before, when I used to be able to hear the cars go by outside, and now I don't hear anything.
Yeah.
And I don't even have treatments up yet.
Yeah, you got a Trinov.
Yeah, you're sound isolated, but the room is still
right.
The room's reflective.
Still
yeah,
reflective.
You're definitely cutting out all the noise floor.
That's good.
Much lower.
So Room Perfect it works well. You still have to have, I don't want to say it doesn't work with any room treatment. You still have to have room treatment, because there's some things that obviously it cannot fix.
Right.
Absolutely.
But the biggest thing I can say with Room Perfect is that it looks, if you look at the manual and try to do what the manual says, it usually doesn't come out well. Like there's actually a specific way to use it and measure it. Like if you just try to do exactly what the manual says and reach like say 90% or 95% room knowledge, it might sound like shit, honestly. And it's because of you need to measure the room with the mic based off of how sound radiates through the room. So it just tells you to point at random places.
Right.
Don't do that. Just don't do that. That's a bad idea. You can do it in a few areas, but you really want to have the room knowledge you want it to have is how room reflects in your, or how sound reflects in your room, not just randomly. So like you want to, for instance, put the mic way across the room in a corner, pointing it in the same direction as like your speaker's headed, right? And see what happens when it bounces off this wall. Like that's how it works. Once you get that, works pretty well. Doesn't take long to measure. Pretty good results. I'm not a huge fan of how it handles subs personally, but it's good overall.
I see. Yeah. So I actually took my Lindorf when I bought my speakers. I took it up to Michael's house and we hooked it up in his theater. And it took about an hour to get to 90. I think we got to like 98% on that thing. It took about an hour to map out the whole room. But I can tell you that he didn't even have a lot of treatments at that time. He didn't have any treatments in his back. You know how he's got the cove where he's got all his speakers. He didn't even have absorption or anything back there yet. There were some treatments, but there wasn't a lot. Nowhere near like what he has now. And we were getting 3D sound in there. I mean, there was when you played Ready Player One, and the guy's like sliding, collecting all the coins. Literally, the coins bounced across my feet. And Michael and I looked at each other and was like, "Did you just hear that?" So it was really cool. It was something that I hadn't heard with any other processor. And I went and I've heard prior to that, I've heard several Trinoffs, and not that Trinoff is bad or anything like that. Maybe they just weren't tuned very well in those particular rooms, right? Maybe it wasn't calibrated correctly. But that was the only processor that I actually heard 3D sound on. I've had Marantz, I've had Denon, I've heard the HTP1. So yeah, I mean it was one of the first times that I actually got spatial audio around away from the speakers. So that was what part of it that really sold me, because when I was reading reviews, that's what the reviewer was saying, that they were getting a lot of spatial audio all around them. I don't know if you experienced that in your room currently with your Trinoff or not, or even with your Lindorf that you have.
Yeah, no, we do. Like I said, with just even minimal room treatment, it does a really, really great job. Like it really does. The Trinoff works better in this room down here because of that one particular speaker placement. And you could do some cool stuff with like bass management. Like you could do kind of like directional bass, or like kind of like a cascading bass. So you could say, at this speaker's crossover for like my top middle, I can route the bass to say my side surround and my front left and my front left sub. So
Right.
you can do that, and you can do that with like every single speaker. So you could do some pretty cool stuff with it. Most of them, honestly, with most of these, if you set them up and calibrate them right, like they're gonna sound good, and you're gonna have like that same effect of like a spatial, like 3D sound.
Okay. Yeah. No, I mean, it's unfortunately, like I said, I didn't get that for some of the other, but I don't know if you noticed where I literally had my rear surround on my backs on my subwoofer. To me, I wanted to bring those in a little bit more narrower, but I have that doorway right in the way. I can do it on the right side on the if I'm facing the wall, I could do it on the left side, which would be my rear right. But I wanted to bring them in. They are to spec as far as what Dolby recommends as far as angles where they're at. But I know that like Armani, he likes to bring them in a little bit closer, a little bit tighter in the middle of the room, closer to the center point. Yeah, that I would be able to the turn off would serve a nice purpose for me to remap that speaker where it should go, right, where I would like for it to go, you know. So that I can definitely see a use case for it, like you were talking about with your speaker, to be able to remap it in those areas that I would like for them to come in a little bit tighter.
Oh yeah, if I didn't need that, I would still be using my Lindorf. Like that's the only reason I bought it, because like I had a problem and it's like, well, I need to fix it. I can't block off this area. What am I going to do? And
right. So were you? What were you? What was the issue? Where it's just a panning issue?
No, it was literally just the wrong. So it's in the wrong location by about almost 1.5 feet.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess in pans you would hear it is one, but things that should be taking place in the rear right were coming from like almost like right here, and it's like, hey, that's a problem. Like I know that sound's supposed to be over here, and it was, you could somewhat localize it. It's just like localize it. Plus, like, you know, when you notice a problem, no one else can notice it sometimes, but you know it's there. It's one of those things too. So
yeah, but you'll keep going back to it, man.
Yeah, I will. Yeah. I don't actually notice it now at all. Like I don't, like it's not even an issue.
Yeah, because you solved the problem, right?
Yeah.
So do you have the 32 or the 16?
I just did a 16.
Okay.
Yeah, I just did a 16.
Yeah, I think I would go 32 if I just because I know I would want to add more subs, you know, and let it control everything rather than using like a DSP or a mini DSP or something like that adding on.
Right.
So right now I'm at 18 speakers and 4 subwoofers. So I'd be right there at the max. I couldn't add any more subwoofers.
What's the price point for the 16 right now?
Gosh,
around 20,
if I had it to do all over again, because just like Terrence talked about, you know, he's allergic to MSRP. I got a really good deal on my Lindorf, and I had a really good deal on the Trinoff, and it was only like a $2,000 difference.
Ooh.
So if I had it to do all over again, would I do the Trinoff, or that I don't know yet, because I've not heard of the Lindorf in my room yet. But just because of some of the capabilities and the expandability of the Trinoff, I think I may do that, because, you know, they gave you extra channels. They, you know, it's the Lindorf isn't modular, right? I mean, they have compartments on the back of there that I actually reached out to them and said, hey, you know, you got some extra bays back here. What are you adding speakers? Are you adding this? And one of the reasons that I actually purchased the Lindorf is because I emailed them and I asked them about IMAX Enhance, and they said they were going to be adding it, but at this point I still don't think that it's been added.
I thought it has.
So I could be incorrect, but I didn't think that it was added in yet. Let me see.
There's also the buy once, cry once. Because I mean, at this point, once you're spending the money on a Lindorf, you're not that much from a Trinoff.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, the price point is not that different.
Yeah, so they're showing the 2.1 at 15 grand right now, which I can promise you I didn't pay close to that. So let's see. Just trying to look at the codecs.
Yeah, I don't think they have it yet.
Dolby Atmos,
I just see
DTS,
DTS
Oro
and
3D.
Oro 3D.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought they had added
And
it.
that's the 2.1 version, so it
Right,
didn't
correct.
come with it.
Yeah. And you, Sammy, did you not get the email when you bought your Lindorf that you could send it back and they could put the 2.1 in for you?
Yeah, I did get that, and I was considering doing it, but the turnaround time, like there was this weird window of when you had to do it,
Mm-hmm.
and then like the turnaround time was going to be super long, so I was like, screw it, I'll just sell it and just buy it.
Right.
It'll be quicker.
That's true.
And it was, because if I had to try to do that, it would have took quite a while.
Oh, really? It wasn't cheap either. I think there was like $2,000 to do it.
Yep.
So it wasn't very cheap. And honestly, I thought about doing it, but it's like, okay, do I really need it? The only thing that I'm going to need 2.1 for is gaming, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do I really need that feature? And I thought about doing the same thing, but shit, now 2.2 is coming out, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could, so true, you really would only need it for gaming, but say for instance, if you had, say you get an Envy Extreme and you wanted to use something like Motion AI, then you could do 4K 120, for instance, on that. But outside of that, you really wouldn't have too much of a use for it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, I have the Lumagen Radiance Pro, the 4242.
Yeah, I have. What do I have? I think I have a 4242 as well.
Yeah. So I was actually talking to Jim today. So he's actually going to join us on the show in a couple weeks. So
that'd be cool.
A little teaser for you guys to look out for that.
Yep.
He's going to join us on the show in a couple weeks. But I was speaking to him today. I was just curious about, because I know the Lumagen, some of your cheaper HDMI cables, they run a little hot on voltage and stuff like that. So it tends to affect some of these processors that you're putting in the line. So I was just reaching out to him to talk to him about, what should I use, and if I should even incorporate 2.1 cables in my in the system, if it's going to affect it or not, because technically, like I said, I don't need it. I'm probably going to run. I'm going to use the Lumagen as a switcher for the Apple TV, the Kaleidoscape, the Arvolution, and the what is it? Apple TV, Kaleidoscape. Oh, and the Panasonic 9000. And then I'm going to use my Lindorf as a switcher for the two gaming consoles, the Xbox and the PS5.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So, either that, I did run 2 HDMI cables, so either that or I'll just manually switch them if I really want the 2.1, because I actually ran 2 HDMI cables I ran the Bridgie, which is the ISF rated 48 gigabit. Ran that, and then I ran the monolith fiber cable too. So both of those are ran.
I think that's the only downside of 2.1, right? If anything in the chain is not 2.1, it technically just breaks everything. Well, It doesn't break, but it's no longer a 2.1 system
HDMI
that you have.
Yeah.
We need a better solution to HDMI, man. DisplayPort or something.
DisplayPort.
Step up. They need to step up. We need this guidance.
I think DisplayPort has a length problem. From what I understand, it's just the cable length, for DisplayPort. From what I understand, I could be incorrect on that, but
they've had enough time to refine
DisplayPort. It's just like HDMI. It has
correct.
You have to do power,
fiber optic power out.
Same thing.
Yeah, so there is a limit, but I mean, so the bad thing about HDMI, so you have, it's either pin 18 or pin 19 is a 5 volt. Yeah. And that pin can either not deliver 5 volts, it can deliver over 5 volts. So you could have a brand new cable, say it's running hot, it's delivering over 5 volts, and it just die, right? That completely sucks. But then when you start doing super long links and you have, say, like an active optical cable, excuse me, an active optical cable, what will happen is, because there's copper in it, if you run a super long link, it can lose the transmission for HDCP. So you can get like HDCP errors. Like HDMI is just like the worst like connection standard.
I watch Ryan and Jonathan all the time. You know, Ryan works for MadVR, and he's constantly. I think HDMI is his arch nemesis. So
oh yeah,
no, it can be really annoying, man.
Yeah,
dude. I was doing some measurements, and I left the dongle, the HDMI dongle. That was HDMI to USB-C, not powered, just this, plugged into the end of my HDMI cable, and nothing was working. Because right now how I have it working is Jessica just uses the Apple TV remote. That's it. It turns everything on. It controls everything. The Apple TV remote. That's all she needs. So it's super easy. It just wouldn't work. I couldn't figure out what was going on. And then I finally had to rewind. I mean, I worked on this for like a couple hours, and I realized what the fuck? Like this, like it's just because of something plugged into the end that's not even. What the hell? Wasn't even powered up or anything. I was just like, you have got to be kidding me. Because I got so frustrated. I was like, all right, I'm just gonna troubleshoot this thing. So I unplugged every HDMI cable and just the, Apple TV, and it worked. I was like, wait, what? And so then I was like, okay, what the hell is going on? And then whenever I plugged in my RU, I labeled it RU cable. Yeah, I just had that plugged at the end. And I was like, wait, so you're telling me an Apple product HDMI to USB-C cable broke the Apple TV? I was like, oh, the irony of that one. Come on now.
I remember you talking about that.
Yeah, it's finicky, but unfortunately, there's no getting away from HDMI because it's everywhere, right? We even want more of it, right?
What they want.
Nobody buys an AVR processor without enough HDMI ports.
So I think we avoided the chat as much as we could so far today. So let's say hi to some people in here.
Yeah, I thought you did that at the start of the show.
So Big Jack, thanks for joining. Scott was in a little bit earlier from Bass Brings Us Together. I think he's got a show coming up at his house pretty soon. Of course, Paul and myself and Ike are in the chat here. So
Wade
we
Young,
got Wade
Raf
in the
Cave.
chat. Raf Cave in the house. So thank you for that. Musan. But yeah, thank you everyone for being in the chat.
All good people.
John in the chat. So
hey, Big Jack, we need to get you back on the show, man, so we can talk about. You've been doing some crazy improvements in your theater, man.
Yeah, we definitely got to get.
You recently got a train off too, man. So we need to get you. And Wade too.
It's like Beyonce. Let me upgrade you.
Yeah, everybody got Trino, man. You got a Trino. You got a Trino.
Wade got a Trino now, man. They're around every corner.
Jeez. It's like, was that like a price drop or something that I missed?
Yeah, we must have missed the sale day, right? 99% off.
Yeah. Man, so what do we got started, Ike? What we got? Any questions?
Let's see. Yes. Wow, this one is interesting.
Oh, sorry, I clicked on it. Sorry.
Okay.
I have dual SVS PB 3000s and dual Yamaha SW 100s. Uses near fields. Planning to update them to PB 2000. Shall I use them as near fields or four corner?
Should you use which ones now? The PB to that 3000 or the dual Yamaha? Which do you want to use?
Yeah, which one are you thinking about?
Personally, I would, if you have a sealed room, personally I would cover your four corners.
Your four corners, right? If it's a sealed room.
And then if you still want to use the Yamahas as near field, and you really, this is one of those things where it's free to try. So do whatever you like that makes you have your best experience. But you just go by the logic. If it's a, you know, a standard enclosed room, 4 corners is always, or 4 mid-wall points is always the best coverage for the most consistency across all your seats.
I mean, a Trinov will solve the problem, but a subwoofer crawl is way cheaper.
Yeah.
A subwoofer crawl is way cheaper than the Trinov solution. So try that first. Yeah, try to move things around, kind of play around with it.
Move them around a couple times. Unfortunately, there is no answer because every room's different. They just like my room, like it's open concept, so that's the only real reason I have near field, is because, well, I mean,
because depending on the size of your room, if you have dual PB 3000 and then dual PB 2000s, hey, you might have everything covered, and then you just need the near field. But if you feel like you're not getting it covered, then you might want to put the Yamaha. I don't know what the W100 is, but
they're just basic, like pole.
Yeah, but they sound like 10-inch subs or maybe 12-inch subs. Yeah, you can put them on the corner, but yeah, move things around. Try the subwoofer crawl. Don't let anybody walk in and you doing that. But
so, Sammy, how are you running your subs? So, guys, just to give you a heads up, Sammy's not going to be doing a tour. He's got some stuff in his room that's under embargo that we can't show. So
I always have something.
Right. Yeah. So he won't be doing a tour, but we can talk about his theater though for sure. What are you running in your room? I see some stack stuff over there behind you. Is that your rack there?
Yeah. So that's my rack. Like this, a tour, like you're pretty much actually seeing it. Like it's not that big. So that's my rack. That's actually just an air purifier, like that black thing in the corner. But I have, let's see here. In this room, on the wall there, I have a 77-inch S95C for now. That will change in a few months, but for right now it's the 77 S95C. And I have a Stewart Luxus Studiotech 130 G4 scope screen that comes down in front of it. For all my speakers, I'm running Paradigm, Founders, 100H.
C-Big in the house. C-Big is running Founders too.
I didn't like what they did with the Founders for their smaller speakers, so I'm actually running Prestige 25S. And then I haven't figured out what I want to do with the top ceiling speakers right now, so I'm just using like some prime elevations, but I have 6 of them.
Okay.
And I have 2, technically I have 3. I just don't have enough time to install the 3rd one, but I have 2 right now, PSA S2112, so the 21-inch subs. And, just some room treatment, stuff like that. JVC NZ900 with the DCR lens.
On a 135.
Yeah,
that is super powerful.
Yeah, that thing is burning holes in that screen.
Oh yeah, I have it set right now. So I have a bunch of different profiles, but I have it set right now where the main one that I use for like my HDR viewing is 174 nits with like 37,000 to 1 contrast.
Wow. So how many foot Lamberts would you think that is?
Oh God. I don't know, probably like around, what is it, like 60 something? Let's see.
So let's talk about the DCR lens. I know obviously you have it because you have a scope screen. But do you see a major, like it claims, like a 1/3 difference in the light output? Is that measurable?
The difference is measurable, but it's not what they claim. Okay. Generally, you're going to see between 18 to maybe 23% increase. Generally, it's going to be around 19 or 20. Like you're not like good. Oh yeah, it's still great, but like people they'll say, oh, you get 33% more light. It's like, no, you don't. It's because the way they measure the additional pixels that you get that are now on your screen, but that does not actually equate to real light that you it's measurable.
Yeah, what you're saying.
So let's see here. What else? So my rack is basically audio control for my amps, Savoy G4s. Then I got a lot of Wattbox stuff because I'm a dealer with Snap. Trinoff, Oppo 203, bunch of Kaleidoscapes, like 2 different servers, and then a Strato C. Then I have like one of those hidden panels where I have like my Apple TV and some other stuff in there.
Okay.
My networking, a PS5 Pro that I don't really use, but is there. Arvolution Player One 8K, Lumagen Radiance Pro, and then a MadVR NV Extreme Mark II.
So I'm going to put you on the spot with those two. Pros and cons for both Lumagen and MadVR.
Okay. So pros, they're both generally going to do the same thing. They just take different routes to get there.
Okay.
They are roughly going to look the same if they're set up properly, which they should, right? Because
once you calibrate, if you hit the delta of 3, then or a delta of 2 or delta of 1, it should be the same, right?
Well, I mean, yes and no. There's going to be some differences, but not even talking about delta. Let's just say that the picture's accurate, or let's say the picture's inaccurate. Doesn't really matter. How it's going to visually look is generally going to be the same as it should, because it's only processing the video for like doing like nonlinear stretch or dynamic tone mapping. Now, dynamic tone mapping, there's going to be some differences because of how they each do it, but ultimately they are going to look more similar than dissimilar. Price is probably one of the biggest differences. With the Lumagen, you can get like, I think it was the 5386, I think it is. That's like their highest end one. That's pretty expensive. But an NV Extreme Mark II is more, right? So price is a big delta. But then you also have to look at things like size. Like this is like a Mark II NV Extreme. That's like 4 rack units.
For you.
Yeah, my Lumagen's 1, right? So for the most part, pros on the NV side would be you have, I don't want to say that the Lumagen doesn't have IP control, because you can connect it to, say, for instance, Control 4, for instance. Like you, so you can fully control it.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So you can control it. But the NV is like truly like IP control. So it can find other devices on your network and control them, for instance. You have, if you have the, Mark II Extreme, you can do like geometry correction. You can do motion AI if you wanted to use that. You can't really game on a NV, like you actually really cannot. It has a pass-through port that actually processes the picture. None, absolutely zero. There is no processing on it at all. So like if you wanted dynamic tone mapping, too bad, you can't get it. The latency is extremely high on the NV. So that's why you cannot game. It's effectively like 6 frames.
Yeah, that's all good.
Yeah.
For FPS games. Yeah.
Right. So
it's a couple headshots.
Like a plus on the Lumagen side is that you can game. Like I measured it. I know Jim says that it's like 3 milliseconds. When I measured it, it was 2. It only has 2 milliseconds of latency.
And that's in the gaming mode though, right?
That's in the gaming mode. But even outside the gaming mode, I measured only 19 milliseconds. So like you can game with the Lumagen. You cannot do that with an NV. And that's with all processing. So the Lumagen can be used as a switcher, right? If you need that. So they both have benefits, right? It just depends on
your use case,
what you want, right? So like but they also both have things that they could do better on. Like they can both improve like in multiple areas. None of them are really bad, and there's ways to work around the issues that they have, but I prefer that they didn't have those issues just in general. Outside of that, I would say that really it just depends on what you want to do. Like if you're really into IP control, I would probably look for at the Envy. So like for instance, I don't even know if you'll be able to see it, but so I'm going to turn on my system.
I'm curious if that newly announced Lumagen, the one that is supposedly coming out or should have come out, I don't even know.
No, it's not out yet.
If that will, because it's also it's a little on the expensive side compared to the current models, right? If that would have proper IP control and all that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. They haven't really released.
They haven't put out much info on it. They just announced it, but
the Artisan.
Yep, I wonder if that.
So, like for instance, and not that you can't do this type of stuff with like a Lumagen, for instance, like because you
sorry, let me stop sharing so that we can see that. Let me stop sharing.
Oh no, you're fine.
We can highlight on you.
So it's not like you can't do this type of stuff in a Lumagen, because you can, but like, say for instance, I don't know, let's go with something. Yeah, let's go here. Let's go to the scene. I don't know what that scene is, but whatever.
Can you make sure you mute the sound so we don't get copyright?
Oh yeah. There we go. Okay. So I've just paused it right now. So like one of the things that you could do with this is you can tie this to, for instance, like your projector, to have it switch different picture modes based off of profiles, because it has a profile system. They're not like memories, because usually with a memory in a device, it's not just one setting, it's an entire set of settings that are applied and saved to that memory. With the Envy, you can like do profiles where you can change one setting and then it overlaps or sits on top of everything else. So like in my case, the way I have mine set up is I have calibration LUTs from CalMan as well as Color Space. And then I also have things on a Lumagen as well from CalMan and Color Space. So I can just quickly flip between stuff. But if I wanted to, I can say, I want to turn on the P3 filter for my JVC, automatically have it switch the picture mode that's going to enable the filter, change the profile that's going to change all my LUTs, and change my measured peak luminance. Like you can do a lot of super cool stuff with it. So that's like crazy. If something like that were important to you, then you would probably want to lean more towards like a MadVR. But if you don't need that type of stuff, and say you just want to have like super fast switching by using the Lumagen as a switcher, plugging everything into there, the Lumagen can pass audio. Like an Envy can't pass audio. This is meant to be at the end of the chain. You can have all your audio routed through a Lumagen. So depending on how your system's set up, you could utilize that. So I think probably the biggest thing that people should realize with these is that these are CI products, like these are custom install products.
Right.
So yeah, can you go out and just buy one and set up yourself? Sure. Should you? No, like you really shouldn't. Like someone should be coming out and setting these up. And if a dealer sells both, based off of your actual needs, should determine what they're giving you, not just, I'm going to sell you the thing at the highest margin, because that doesn't really help anybody. Like if they're really trying to help you, they'll say, okay, this is my budget, this is what I'm trying to do, and then pair you with what is appropriate. That's really what should be happening with these things.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And that's why I didn't put you on the spot to ask you which one you chose. I just wanted you to give me some pros and cons. But it sounds like you're implementing both of them in your system depending on your use case, which
Correct.
is exactly what you should do for everything that you purchase, right? Depending on your use case. And while Paul's digging in, we forgot to check on the first beer. What was the first beer, Paul?
Oh, it's a repeat. Yeah, it's the same one.
Okay.
Tangerine
Riot. Okay.
It's the beer of the evening. I started off late tonight because I was just finishing my other drinks since I ate late today. So
yeah, because I think if you're like a heavy gamer, if you game in your theater, then and the IP and all the other stuff doesn't really matter to you. The Lumagen really. That Addison, though, at that price point, it's like, what, $12,000?
I think it's close to 14.
I am curious. Yeah, with everything going now, it's probably going to be 15 grand when it comes out. I am so curious to see, because it has HDMI 2.1 and all that cool spec.
Yeah, I mean, I think it would be good. I think, like, you have people that are, like, fans of these products.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's fine. Myself personally, I don't really care at the end of the day. Like, I have both for a very specific reason, just because when I go out and do calibrations and I need to be kept abreast with anything that changes and stay up on my skill set. And then, for instance, like someone might call me and ask me like, hey, I see this in this piece of content. I can check and see if it's specific to this processor, or if it's this calibration software that causes it, or this one. So I have a use case for both. Most people won't, right? Yeah. But I mean, people like get very defensive about like these products, and I get it, but it's like, are you the owner? Are you a stockholder? You're not. It's like, then,
you don't own shares in this company. Right. Like why you?
I mean, look, we know that there's.
Why are you going to war for something you don't even own stock in, man? Like, it's wild, man.
It
is. Grown men. It's like,
well, I mean,
men on Facebook fighting over.
That's natural, I mean,
something that lightning can knock out in 5 seconds. Like, come on, man.
But I'm still of the mindset, like people ask, is the turn-off worth it and all this stuff? I'm like, if you don't know the reason why you need one,
then you
do not need one. That is always going to be my answer.
Yeah.
So here's
worth is so subjective. Like, I've seen people go up entire trim lines in cars for literally one feature. If that person wants that one feature, then it's worth it to them.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. I've bought in certain models of motorcycles for the custom color.
Right.
It doesn't drive any better, it's like, I mean, sometimes they upgrade the suspension and stuff, but for the most part, you're not using it, you're not using a motorcycle like that and it's upgraded stuff on the road, so sure, if you're a track day rider, but for most of the parts, it's like you're not even using 99% of those features. And that's the same way with audio and video and all that. It's like, I'm going to be getting more subs, but it's just going to be for fun. And it's going to be for, showing off and getting, smirks and whatnot, it's people are going to be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. That's it. It's not because I'm like, oh, look, this is how I watch my movie at 140 decibels.
Yeah. I mean, ultimately with both of these products, no matter what someone gets, they're not getting a bad product. Like, they're a good product. They do this. They are effectively trying to do the same thing. They just take different routes in how they're going to do it. Right. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. That's what you wanted to hear, Tom.
All right. Well, not that I wanted to hear that. I mean, obviously, well, not obviously, but some of the people that don't know, but I would say that if you're not a tinkerer, that the MadVR might be the way to go, just because the GUI is much easier to operate and go through.
Yeah, Lumagen is do something about it.
Okay, so the thing about that, so it's not that I have a problem with it when people say that. okay, the way the Lumagen is set up, it's actually super simple. Like it's really simple. It's based on input, output,
Mm-hmm.
and global.
Yeah.
And then it uses video terms, right? So if you're not familiar with video terms and you don't understand, so it's a menu tree. That's really all it is, right? It's like you select this and you get these two
Brings
options. You
out
select
options.
this,
Yeah.
right? So it's a tree, and it's literally broken up into input, output, and like global. The video terms are pretty straightforward. There's some stuff in there that kind of dated, doesn't really necessarily need to be used, especially in like digital video today. But it's not that it's hard to use. Like it's actually pretty simple if you understand those
the
things.
lingo. Yeah.
Right. Where the Envy, on the other hand, I'm not going to say it's any easier or harder. It depends on someone's level of knowledge or acumen, right, for video. So if you go into an Envy, you have like 20 pages that's broken up between 4 menus. So now you have to remember which menu you're in and which page of that menu the item that you want is. It's presented better. It definitely is presented in a more appealing way, but it doesn't necessarily make it any easier to use, right? So if I tell you to go in and set it up for an anamorphic lens, you need to know what you're looking for. If you don't know what you're looking for, you can't do it. So that's even with the Envy. And that's the same thing with the Lumagen. Like you just have to know what you're looking for in terms of terminology.
Yeah, and I mean, being CI products, right? They're not designed for the average consumer to be in there anyways, messing around and trying to.
Yeah, once you get this set up, once you get one of these set up, honestly, you should never really have to touch it, like ever.
Yeah.
Hence the reason why I was talking about getting you down to my area.
Yeah, I mean, where are you?
I'm in South Florida. It'll be a nice warm vacation for you. I'm an hour from Miami. Yeah, I mean,
Sammy has been close to this, been in the Texas area a few times, still haven't been able to track him, man.
So I actually might.
Don't tell me if I'm not going to see you, bro. Just don't. If you're not going to come, don't even tell me.
I'll let you know, and I'll let you know in 2 months. In 2 months, I'll let you know if I'll be in your area.
Okay. I might have a Lumagen by then. So.
That's awesome.
Even
MadVR, whichever one comes first.
Well, he can remote do the Lumagen for you.
Yeah.
Well, I could technically do the Envy too, right? So like, for instance, like you can hire Chris Daring, for instance. He'll make you a custom config and send it to you. And you just load it on your Lumagen.
Yeah.
Like if you said like, hey, can you make me a config for an Envy? I can configure an Envy, download the file, send it to you, and just load it. Now it wouldn't be like calibrated, but in terms of setup,
I already got you 2 customers in South Florida. Bill's right down the road from me.
No, I actually might be in both of those areas soon because I think I'll be doing a Barco in Texas soon, and I believe I'll probably be doing, I think, a Christie in Florida, probably pretty soon. So
Florida's pretty big, so we got to narrow that down. It could take
that's true.
6 hours.
And Texas is big too.
Yeah.
Like I said, Texas and
Texas is huge.
You could be in South part of the island. That's 12 hours from me.
yeah.
Yeah, so you got to narrow that down whether it's worth your while. But yeah. So we got a couple questions. Bill actually says, would like to know Sammy's thoughts on the Player One 8K. Bill has some vested interest in this because he is, or he was involved with Arvolution. So, what are your thoughts on the Player One 8K? Are you using it?
Yeah, I actually use it quite a lot. So I primarily use Kaleidoscape, but like so you have a Kaleidoscape Dawn, so like you have the disc to digital. There's some things I'm just not going to rebuy. Like there's just no way. So all of that content especially things like 3D and stuff like that, got put on the Arvolution.
Yep.
So when I do a lot of my reviews, a lot of things I use the Arvolution for. That's mainly one of my main sources. I generally use an Apple TV and an Arvolution for my reviews, because I try to make it kind of make sense. Yeah, like it's like, okay, I'm not going to review this $2,000 projector with a Kaleidoscape. Can I? Sure. Am I? No, it doesn't make sense. Like someone's more likely to pair this with an Apple TV.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I do use the Arvolution a lot.
So those of you that don't know, we didn't even touch on this yet. Shit, we only got like 20 minutes left. Sammy, he does reviews for Projector Central. So those of you that don't know, let's go back over to here. So
yep.
So Sammy does a lot of stuff on here for Projector Central, for the reviews. And you said you're also an editor on here, correct?
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So when you're a reviewer, generally you're like a contributing technical editor. That's generally what your title kind of is when you do reviews for like a publication.
So how do we know which one's your reviews? Or do you have multiple reviewers on this platform?
Yeah, there's multiple reviewers, but like say for instance, if you click on the Valerian, because I just reviewed that, and then just click on my name.
There you go. See you there.
Click on his name. You should pop up all.
Yeah, I'll just pick up like everything.
Ah, very good. So what you think of the Valerian? Is it all the hype that it says that it is?
I don't read his review, man. He wrote one.
I know, right?
I know.
What the hell, man? He's sitting there looking right at it.
So,
but
it's good. It is actually a very good projector. For
there
like
you go.
the class,
so you guys can go read it now.
Yeah, for the class of a lifestyle projector, it's one of the better ones that I tested. It does have some issues. I think some people will see them, some people won't. And depending on how you have it set up, the issues can be more exaggerated. But the biggest feature that they kind of go over is their EBL, which is their enhanced black level. It does cause some color shifting. And I see it. It's one of those things that once you see it, you can't unsee it. That can be improved, but disregarding that particular issue, it is actually a very good projector.
Very nice.
It's not, I don't think it's the second coming like some people try to make it out to be.
Yeah.
But honestly, today, most projectors are pretty good. Like, if being completely honest, most projectors are pretty good. Like, you have to, it's hard to find an actually bad projector. There are some out there, but for the most part, they're all generally pretty good. It's just some are going to excel in some areas versus others.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Like I just did the Epson QL 7000. That's a great projector. It's honestly, I think it's probably one of the best projectors Epson's made in a long time. Not to say that the LS 12,000 or the QB 1000 weren't good, because they're very good. But I think it's better than that. It's just one of those things where it's like not everyone can accommodate a 10,000 lumen projector.
Right. So that's not that one there.
Yeah, that one hasn't been posted yet, but
okay.
Yeah, I already finished the review of it. So again, most projectors are pretty good. Like, you have to like almost try to find a bad projector. And again, bad is subjective. Like, oh, it has bad gamut coverage. Okay, well, compared to what? A Christie? Like, what are you talking about? So, like, oh, there's always going to be a trade-off, and there's always going to be something slightly wrong. There is no perfect projector. So
Shane throwing shade over here. Shane don't know we got 68 consecutive shows.
Oh, hell no.
At 9:30 on a Thursday.
Our views will never match up to yours, Shane. Not, at least not in the next decade. So, please don't take our viewers away from us, Shane.
Yeah, no. So I was curious about that Epson too. 10,000 nits. We're and obviously we'll see your review on it. Thoughts, just real quick. Thoughts on the black levels on that. That's obviously going to be a question, right? With when you're pushing out that kind of nits.
It's going to be roughly the same as a QB 1000 or LS 12,000.
Okay.
So with projection, obviously, the brighter you run it, you have to raise everything, right? You can't make black out of nothing. So as you turn up the light, you are going to raise the black floor. Your contrast, though, with that particular projector always kind of hovers around the same area. So I wouldn't expect any worse than like if you're running a QB 1000 or LS 12,000 super bright, it's going to be about the same.
So advantage for HDR?
Yeah, I mean, well, yes and no. So HDR is, I mean, how could I put this? It's literally in the name, right? High dynamic range. Dynamic range is the difference between black and white, right? The brighter your white, but the darker your black. So if you can get zero black, you're going to have excellent contrast, excellent dynamic range. So your black floor can only it's going to get so high. You can't get it lower once you start running it at like 10,000 lumens, right? It's going to have lower dynamic range than if you're running it at a lower luminous level. Now, you can hit, say, for instance, the DCI spec that they have for 300 nits. You can hit that easily. Like, that is not a problem. But with a more limited dynamic range. So when you go to see, like, I don't know, okay, let's take a JVC and let's take a Sony. If you brightness match them and you watch content that's, say, quote unquote HDR, and disregard tone mapping, let's just say it's just HDR, the JVC is going to have a higher dynamic range because it has a lower black floor. So it's going to make HDR look effectively better generally, unless you're willing to sacrifice the black floor for things like brighter highlights, which you could do with some other projectors. So like a Sony is going to have slightly brighter highlights, like at least with the 8100, for instance. It does good at HDR. If it had a lower black floor, it would look a little bit better because it would have more dynamic range, but it looks good. And the dynamic tone mapping is actually pretty good. The static tone mapping, I was actually surprised was as good as it was. Like, it's actually really good because you can set specifically, not specifically, within a range, the nit value that you're getting on screen. So that's useful. But overall, it's a good projector. It's just one of those things that, again, pair it properly, right? Because you don't want to put it on, say, a 130-inch screen that's only the 17-foot throw, and then you want it dimmer. It's like you can only get it so dim, right? You can only turn down the laser so much. So I think the QL7000 is going to be great for, I would probably start, honestly, at about 150 inches, maybe 160 for that projector. But
what kind of throw ratio? Like 20 feet?
It depends on the lens that you use.
Yeah, that's true. They have the interchangeable lenses. You're correct on that. Yeah, I forgot about that.
So, and if that were possibly too bright, then you still have the QL3000, which is 6,000 lumens. So
that's cool. That's cool.
We're actually, and I posted it in the chat, I think. We're actually doing an event out here in Colorado on April 4th, 5th, and 6th, primarily 5th and 6th in Colorado Springs. It's going to be hosted by the Screening Room. And they do a lot of different shootouts and like blind speaker tests, stuff like that. They really focus on doing stuff by the science. And it's going to have, let's see here, excuse me, the Bravia 9, so the 8100, the RS 4200, the NZ 500, so the RS 1200, a QB 1000, a QL 7000, and a Valerian Pro 2. And we're going to get them all calibrated and set up and do a comparison. And that's going to be Chris Deering is going to be doing some of it, and I'm going to be doing some of it as well. And then we're also going to have a part where we're focusing on the video processors with the Lumagen and a MadVR.
Nice.
So if anyone's in Colorado during that time, you could go to that page that's the ad that he's showing here, and you can RSVP to attend. It doesn't cost anything to go.
When is that going to be again? What date?
April 5th and 6th.
5th and 6th. Okay. Yeah, because I was looking to get out to Colorado during CEDIA this year.
Yeah, CEDIA is fun.
Yep.
If you've never been, it's cool to go.
So.
Yep,
yeah,
I plan to be there this year too.
I usually watch the TV. You guys didn't stream this one live last year, did you?
No.
I think they streamed a couple of these live, and I actually watched them. I was able to watch previously.
Is that not the one these guys do, Value Electronics? But that's the TV. That's the TV shootout, right? That's
that's the
Projector.
TV shootout. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this wasn't the Value Electronics one. So
right.
I know that they did clip some stuff,
mm-hmm.
And had some video for it, but I don't think any of it was actually streamed.
Because there was a website you could sign up to see it. I do remember that specifically signing up at the screening room to be able to watch. It might have been a couple years back that it was actually live, but yeah, I or it may have just been that you can view the video of
maybe that was it.
Yeah,
so I mean, they do some cool stuff. They really do some cool stuff. Like they'll do like a blind speaker test, and like they'll have like Dr. Sean Olive come out and like speak and just different things like that. And it is really kind of based on the science, because usually with this stuff, if a projector is all the same, like you can view stuff out of the box, that's fine, because they each have their own color imagery that they've changed to make it look a certain way. But there is actually a standard for video. And if you calibrate something to meet that standard and then you compare them to one another, you're going to find more often than not that most stuff that you're going to look at is going to look exactly the same. Like it should, again, like you should not have a huge difference in how something looks with video if it's capable of being accurate. What you're going to start to notice is a difference in things like contrast, peak highlights, stuff like that. And then when you start going into stuff like tone mapping, there's no real standard for tone mapping. So it's kind of like their own little, sometimes it's going to be like their own little spin on it. But they should all roughly look almost the same. And that's what people usually end up coming out of these things, finding out.
So guys, we're coming to the end of the show. If you got any questions for Sammy, now's the time to hit them up in the comments. We did have two other questions. So one of them was about the Arvolution AK Pro. You guys run a NAS. I find the Arvolution AK Pro loud when reading the hard drive. Never had a bad looking at Arvolution NAS for ease of price, and just insane. Anyone else have this issue? So when I had this as a PD and the Arvolution, yes, you're going to hear the hard disk spin. Yeah. So my suggestion is get it out of the room.
Yeah,
just
get a NAS.
The easiest thing to do is put the player in a different room and run your HDMI cable. Get a longer HDMI cable and get it out of the room somewhere if you can. Put it in a different room, punch a hole through the wall. That's the easiest thing to do if you don't want to invest in a NAS. Actually, Ike and I were talking about NOS now. They're not cheap to get a decent one. It depends on how much storage you need, how much. And I had the Arvolution NOS in for review. It's a fantastic NOS, but it's made for the Arvolution. It's not made really to do much else, right? So it's kind of locked down. So if and I'm an Arvolution dealer, and I like Sammy said, I don't want to sell you something for the highest margin, right? So if you have the opportunity to get a different NOS, it's going to work the same with your Arvolution. So that's just my suggestion on that. As far Bill may have different opinions of that, but as far as a NOS itself, it's more useful to have like a Synology or a QNAP, like Paul was talking about. It depends on your use case. If you're not very tech savvy, the Arvolution is 100% the way to go. You plug your drives in, they format it for you, and when you pop your disc in, it will copy for you, right? So that's ease of use. That's the way to go. If you're tech savvy, you can probably get yourself a different brand of NOS to where it's more open platform for you, to be able to do multiple things on it. So that's my suggestion. Ike, you have the Arvolutions in for review. You had both of them.
Yeah, I only use the internal bay for review and testing. I wouldn't recommend, especially if it's loud enough to distract you or you can hear it. I wouldn't recommend it as your long-term constant. If your room is big enough or your rack is just in a separate space where it's not that loud, yeah, that works. But once you start asking about it, then it means it's probably bothering you. So but a NAS is a good long-term solution. If you can invest, you don't have to start. Well, I don't know. If you want to go 8 bay, it will cost you as much as a Kaleidoscape strategy.
Yeah,
buy the drives and everything. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's something you got to look into and then decide what works best for you.
You got to decide, yeah.
Yeah, so, but I don't use it for my regular watching movie, just for reviews and testing.
So the first thing, because there's always limitations. I posted a link actually from Arvolution's website, and it'll tell you like the idle and the active dB level of the drives, because there are different drives operate at different volumes, essentially. So some are less noticeable than others. That's an option, but
which could be
hard drives are expensive, so if you've already bought, but there's also, if you're really like us into home theater, it's not a good idea to have any spinning hard drives next to subwoofers that are vibrating like crazy, because that will definitely shorten the life of any hard drive. Yeah. So that's why people do generally have the device in a remote room or do a dedicated NAS for such things. Now, sometimes you could do like what I'll do is a SSD internally for stuff that's right there. But of course, I'm putting 18 terabyte SSDs in a, Arvolution. That'd be like $1 million. So
I don't love my movies that much.
You can get a couple terabytes for a couple 4K that you can transfer back and forth and stuff like that if you want.
I think I paid like $200. It's not focusing, but it's a Samsung 4 terabyte. You can probably get about 70 movies on this thing.
Yeah.
And you can literally plug this into the back of your player.
Then the next choice is, obviously you can get an Arvolution NAS. That is, the plus about that is you plug it in and you find it on your network and you start putting movies to it, which is cool. The downside is that's what you're using it for.
Yeah, you're locked into that.
You're locked into that.
Interface.
Where if you do like me, or you can do the easiest is like Kscape. We all know that. You just click download. You're done.
Yeah.
But like I have a QNAP. You can do yourself, but I doubt you're doing like TrueNAS and building your own, or you wouldn't even be asking the question. But QNAP and Synology are probably out of those are the most complex, but they also offer the most features. Like I back up all my computers, I back up all my videos, I back up all my phones, pictures. I basically have my own cloud service, and the price to comparison is I have 120 terabytes for $6,000. Right. So, and that's running RAID 5, 8 bay, and that's a pretty high end NAS. So, but
even Bill from
savvy. You have to be. That's a lot of time to, especially if you don't know all the terminology and technology that it's asking you. I mean, you could.
Even Bill from Arvolution saying the NAS should be in another room or a rack closet. So exactly. I think
spinning drives that just need to be in a separate room, and then it depends on what quality of drive hard disk you also got, right? The RPM speed and just the quality of it. That can also, SSD is the best way to go, but SSD is not cheap.
Look, I think this is your best solution.
SSD is not cheap.
Put like 70 movies on this, whatever you want to watch. They don't all have to. Yeah, you can have them stored, but you can direct the Arvolution directly to this rather than to your spinning drive, and you won't hear a thing.
Yeah,
there won't be nothing that you hear. You won't have to move the player. You won't have to do anything else. So whatever movies you're going to watch, just transfer to the SSD. It's going to be a quick transfer, I promise you. So you can just transfer it to the SSD and, put your next 50 movies on there that you want to watch, and it'll solve all your problem. But even when when the Zapedi first came out, that was one of my biggest complaints, because I had the Zapedi in my living room where my home theater was at the time, and it was just loud. You could just it was constantly loud, right?
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons why I went, because I like a rack in the room. I like the look of the gear. I like the look of the lights in the background and everything else. And I was actually going to cut a hole in my wall to put my rack so that you could see it in the theater. But the deciding factor was exactly that, the noise, right? I want the noise floor as low as it can be.
Yeah, this summer I'm moving mine out of the theater. So that's going to be part of my summer long. But, man, I don't want to rerun cables, man. That's a lot of speaker cables. Attic in the summer in Texas. I don't know, man. It might just be another 2026 plan.
Yeah, you should have started climbing in the attic now.
Yeah, so still a lot of speakers.
So I do have something for Bill, since he works for Arvolution.
Sure.
Just FYI, your Control 4 driver wake on LAN for the Player One does not work. It powers it off, but it doesn't actually wake on LAN. So I'm not sure if you guys know that or going to have a firmware fix for it, but that would be great if you did.
Yeah, I think that's something we can put on their Facebook. They've been rolling out a bunch of updates lately. I think I even have one pending update. We might be able to put that on their Facebook page, man, because the EU Facebook page is very active. It seems to be where they get a lot of updates from a lot of their consumers, and they try to implement. So might need to put that up.
So Shane, not all of us are sporting those Rolexes like you got, brother. I don't know about the 27 grand for some.
That's a lot of spare change, Shane.
I mean, that's only $21,000 more than my 120 terabytes. So it's not that far off.
That's a lot of spare change, man.
Yeah, no. I mean, look, I've always said the Kaleidoscape is not your storage solution.
Nah,
if you have a big movie collection, like I have almost 2,000 movies stored on mine, across multiple drives. So it's, I can't justify spending that $27K. Now, could I do maybe an 8 or a 22? Probably a 22 terabyte or 24 terabyte. I could probably swing one of those, but not the 96 for for quite that much. So Bill says he didn't know discrete was on off was still an issue. So he'll take a look into that for you. Says,
Cool,
hey
thank
Bill,
you.
any way to get a selection on the GUI for the new release based on release date? That would be awesome. Any way to get a selection
A section on the GUI for new releases based on release date? Oh yeah, I see what he means.
Yeah.
So just have like new releases of movies, but I don't know how are you gonna do that? Well,
so
Bill says he'll pass it along, so good idea.
So I mean, I guess when you update, when you put something onto the Revolution, there's a new section there. It puts whatever's new first. So when you rip it, it puts those movies in the forefront, at least in the new section.
Yeah, it's in the recent. It's like the very first. Yeah,
correct.
It's the very first thing you land on.
Yeah. So Bill's a dealer for them. I'm also a dealer for Revolution. So by all means, reach out to any one of us. Bill, feel free to put your email in the chat if it'll let you. I don't know if it will on YouTube or not, but feel free to put your email there.
Yeah, I should be able to.
So
but next week,
space at space and then the domain.
So one last quick question for Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
Why do I need a calibration?
You don't. It's that simple.
You don't know what you're missing.
I love Sammy. Yes, the truth. It's like,
yeah, if you feel like
why not, right?
Yeah, it's like if you feel like something is wrong, or then maybe look into it. So there's sometimes I'll get contacted by people that say they have an issue, and I start talking to them, and based off of how they watch their television, what they watch, what they like the picture to look like, I tell them it's like calibration is probably not for you. Like you're probably not like the person that's going to really like that. Yeah. At the same time, sometimes they'll have an issue and it's like, no, you can't actually fix that with calibration because it's inherent to the display. So there's some people that need a calibration, right? Like if your work requires it, if you're doing color grading, if you are a photographer, if you are doing editing, stuff like that makes sense. If you are like an enthusiast and you just want to know that your picture is accurate, then yeah, you're a person that might be interested in calibration. If you have say you get a projector and you could tell that it looks wrong, because there's certain things that we are all familiar with, right? There's things like memory colors, or say you're a huge sports fan. Like I'm not a huge sports fan, right? But say for instance, I was a Denver's Bronco fan. Their orange is a very specific orange. And if I knew, like if I was watching that on a TV and I saw that it was off, it's like, whoa, that's wrong. I would probably want it fixed. But most things today, depending on what it is, are somewhat close enough to being accurate. Now, there's some things that are just wildly wrong. But like if you get like, say, an Epson and you put it in natural, that's pretty close. And if you're happy with it, you don't need a calibration. Like, could it be better? Yes, everything can always be better. But no one necessarily needs a calibration. Now, you can get more out of certain displays by doing a calibration. So for instance, you have a JVC. If I were to calibrate your JVC, I would put it in high bright profile off because I have more light to work with to get it correct. And then I run LUTs on your Lumagen. And it's going to be accurate and you're going to have more brightness than if I started with, say, natural and D65 and then try to adjust from there, right? Because I'm working from uncorrected brightness to something that's already corrected. So you can get more performance out of certain things. But no one needs a calibration. That's the thing. Like I think people feel that
Yeah, and calibration might not always give you that picture that you think you might get. Because I remember when I first calibrated my LG, right? And it was really good. I spent hours with my cowman and everything and really good. But I had to get used to this color all over again, right? Because it wasn't giving me that bright popping. I wasn't even, at some point I was like, am I even sure I want to?
Right. Well,
because accurate color isn't always the most beautiful in terms of pop, brightness and
it's not Samsung on the Best Buy
Vivid,
wall,
right? It's not
yeah.
mode.
I mean, Best Buy ain't calibrating all their TVs; they're putting them all in Vivid, and guess what sells? Vivid
mode.
Like,
yeah.
Whoa!
So you also have to make sure that, not to say you did it wrong, because I don't know if you did it right or wrong, but you also have to do it right. Okay. Yeah. So sometimes people will look at like a cowman chart and you'll have your little target for saying like, okay, this is where this particular color should be. It's like, all right, cool. Just because you get it there doesn't mean it's going to look correct, because depending on what you do, say for instance, you don't understand how your equipment works, or say you're not sending something in the right signal or color format. Yeah. Say you have your insertions and delays off and you have like spikes and luminance. You can create things like posterization. You can create things like, posterization banding. You can inadvertently possibly desaturate something too much just to get this 1 point right, when really what you should be doing is saying, okay, not only how does it measure, but how does the picture look? Yeah. And you can say, like, I've seen some projectors where if I went to correct, say for instance, red for saturation, just to get it correct, it like totally sucked the life out the picture. So technically with that display, you're better off not touching that point and leaving it just wrong. Is it still wrong? Yes, it's still wrong, but it actually looks better. As well as a lot of people that do calibration, not a lot, but some, think that everything works the same, and that's not how it works. So like you can take a Sony TV, for instance, you could take like an A90J, and then you could take like an A95L. And if you have someone that's, say, new to calibration, or they don't actually understand how this device works, they might go in and do a 2 point. It's like, oh, well, you did that wrong because that 2 point's global and Sony's have an offset. So you messed up. You actually did it wrong. So I would say, if you think you see something wrong, maybe look into calibration or learn to do it yourself. If someone wants me to go out and calibrate, I'll calibrate for them. Like, I have no problem doing it. But at the same time, figure out why you think you need to calibrate it first. Like, do you actually need it? And like, I'll help you like figure it out, because I've turned people down before, just because it's not in their best interest in terms of value.
Right.
But yeah, you don't need a calibration. Just like no one needs a video processor, no one needs
a home theater,
right? Like no one needs any of this stuff. Is it nice to have? Yeah, it's nice.
There you go.
It makes it better, but no one needs it.
You can still enjoy a movie with vivid mode.
Yeah, unfortunately, we have a hobby where a lot of people do things just because somebody posted a comment about how
look at my delta average of 2 on my projector.
People expect you to do everything. It's like, oh yeah, you just paid for this $40,000 projector, and it's like, yeah, have you calibrated it? I'm like, well, why?
Well, certain things you should though. So like if someone goes out and buys a Christie, for instance, because of how they work, you actually do need to calibrate it.
Yeah, that's a little different. Yeah, you have to, because it's capable of so much. You're having to almost ring it back in for what you're displaying,
for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. That's an opposite problem though.
You absolutely have to. Other things, again, like if someone were to buy a a QB1000 and put it in natural and or cinema or whatever, and they're fine with it, cool.
Yep.
Like that's totally fine.
Yeah, I calibrated my UB60, and then after I changed the bulb, I reset everything, and I just put it into cinema. And it's like, I'm not even gonna friggin' worry about it. That takes way too much time.
Yeah. Now
it looks great. I'm good.
Now there are benefits. So like, for instance, I have a JVC. Your native contrast generally with the JVC is always going to be roughly around the same area with the aperture fully open. If you have me come out and calibrate it, for instance, chances are you're going to gain contrast. So like in my case, like I said, for just one of the picture modes I have set up, I'm at like 37,000 to 1. I have another one where I'm at like 43,000 to 1 contrast.
Wow. Damn.
You might have someone come out and calibrate your projector. Say you have, again, a JVC, and by the time they're done, you might have 16,000 contrast. They did it wrong, right? So I would say if anyone's interested, just do your research and figure out who you want to do it, because we are not all the same.
Just fly it down to wherever you are.
Not before I do though. So no, but seriously, you can Sammy, give them some ways to reach out to you. I know you said Projector Central website. Go to the contact us, and they should be able to reach you there.
Yeah, they can reach me through there. The best place to reach me, honestly, is just via my email. So just sdprescottjr@gmail.com. I'm also listed on the ISF website under dealers. So if you go there and you search in Colorado, because it breaks it up by city for where you're at, just search Colorado and you'll just see my name. You can reach me through there. That's generally most places. I suck at social media, so it's at this point it's a lost cause, unfortunately.
So I know we're past time, but I gotta ask, Bravia 9. Recommend, or
actually, it's actually really. You'll probably say he always says it. It's actually really good. That is the first Sony projector that I would consider owning. Like, of all the other Sony projectors they've had that I've worked on, that's the first one where I would be totally okay owning.
I've heard really good things about it.
Yeah, they definitely improved the tone mapping. It still has some of the same issues that Sony has always had. So, like, for instance, Shane's in here. I know he's seen it. I know he knows what I'm talking about.
Banding.
The posterization and the banding. That has been in Sony's for like ever. It's still there, right? But the rest of the projector is so good that I could somewhat overlook that. The single pixel contrast drop still occurs. But again, like, it is actually very good. And if you're a gamer, I would probably choose that over anything else, because you can get like, I think it's like 9 milliseconds for 4K 120.
Wow.
And it's what, 35 or 3400 lumens, right?
34, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Good contrast, good motion, supports 48 hertz, great latency. It's bright. It's a good projector. Yeah. And the tone mapping is actual, like, legit this time. It's not.
Yeah, that's what I heard. I heard it was good.
It's actually really good.
That price point,
the Sony Bravia.
Okay.
31 grand is not for the weak. It's not for the faint heart.
That's probably my only issue with it, is that I don't think it's $6,000 better than an NZ9.
Than the 9, right?
Or 900, yeah. It's not. It's good, and it excels in multiple areas, and the JVC is better in other areas, but it's not. The Sony is not $6,000 better to me personally. Someone else might feel that way, and grab it if they like it, but I just don't think it's that much better. So,
well, Sammy, we definitely appreciate your honesty. We definitely appreciate your perspective on calibration. Obviously, you're well known in the industry, so we really thank you for joining us this evening.
Yeah.
If you guys would like to be a guest on the show, please email us at hometheaterhublive@gmail.com. Normally, we like to do a theater tour, but like we mentioned, Sammy's got some embargo stuff that he can't show in for review and stuff like that. So, but thank you for walking us through your theater and what you use to do your reviews and your calibrations. John, you had a question about the Arvolution. If you'd like, just shoot me an email at horizontheater2020@gmail.com, and we can discuss some Arvolution stuff. So thank you everyone for joining this evening.
And next week we should have the home theater hobbyist, Cody, very wonderful guy in the home theater community. He should be joining us next week. So looking forward to that.
Uh-oh. Every time you guys mention something happens.
No, that's anytime.
That is
anytime Don mentions something.
Well, that's
happens.
true.
That's why I did the mentioning.
That might be what it is. That might be what it is.
Yeah, but Sammy, please hold on a few seconds when we're done. But thank you so much for joining us this week, everyone. Don, if you don't have anything else,
that's it. That's all I got. It was great to be back, guys. I really enjoyed this show. So thank you.
Okay. See you on the next one. Bye.